Yuanji couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, he was with junior sister Yin. If he stayed there, he wouldn't be able to save his life. Yin Chujio found that she didn't encounter any demonic beasts along the way. The demonic beasts were probably still gathering at the peak. This was good news. It meant that the winter plum hadn't bloomed yet. What should she think of to trick those demonic beasts this time? Her gaze landed on Jisoo and the rest. She thought for a moment and said, "Don't go any further. Just wait for me here." Jisoo and the rest knew their own limits. If they followed them, they might become a burden. Let them just wait. Yuanji blinked his eyes and did not say anything. Yin Chujio was very satisfied with this. It did not matter if her brain was not functioning properly. She just needed to be obedient. After Yin Chujio separated from Jisoo and the others, she quickly rushed to the top of the mountain. She had the beads secreted by the Gui Chao, so the hot weather didn't affect her much. Therefore, she was very fast and arrived near the peak the next morning. Just as she was about to get closer, she was blocked by several demonic beasts. Yin Chujio glanced at the demonic beasts and said, "I have something important to do. It's about the lone frost plum. Take me to your leader." When the beasts heard that it was about the frost plum, they didn't dare to make a move. After all, the frost plum was a big deal. Furthermore, more than 10 humans had been scared out of their wits. This little girl was nothing to be afraid of. Hence the beasts escorted Yin Chujio to the peak. There were many beasts gathered on the peak. At the front stood 4 larger beasts. They must be the leader of the beasts. "I think you should take a look at Snovel." In front of them was a hot spring, but it was already covered in thick ice. Among them was a slender plum tree. Its trunk was only as thick as a wrist, and on its branches was a white flower bud. It looked like it was about to bloom. As Yin Chujio was sizing up the plum tree, the 4 high-level demonic beasts began to roar impatiently. Only then did Yin Chujio come back to her senses and smiled. "Previously, there was a group of people who wanted to scheme against you, but you killed 4 of them, right?" The 4 high-level demonic beasts didn't know what Yin Chujio meant by asking about this matter. They impatiently growled a few times and admitted it. Yin Chujio shook her head. "Do you know that they all have a map jade slip in their storage rings? That map jade slip can send everything that happens here to the outside at the same time. If one of you gets the frost plum in the end, you will be targeted by the cultivators outside. I don't think I need to tell you the final outcome, right?" When the 4 high-level demonic beasts heard this, their claws immediately went numb. The 4 of them had been swallowed whole by them. How could they care about their storage rings? In any case, if they couldn't digest it, they could eventually expel it from their bodies. Roalphapidialfes nu omicron viepsilinel. At that time, wouldn't they be living targets, allowing the humans to slaughter them? Just as the 4 high-level demonic beasts were panicking, Yin Chujio said with a smile, "I heard that the lone frost plum has 5 petals, and you only have 4 beasts. The remaining petal isn't easy to distribute, and it might even cause a dispute. I have a good idea to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. When the time comes, you can give me a petal, and I'll give you laxatives now. I'll let you expel the ring, and get rid of those human cultivators. How about it?" Yin Chujio added, "Oh right, I've lost my storage ring a long time ago. You don't have to worry about this. After all, I don't want anyone to know that I've obtained the frost plum." The 4 high-level demon beasts listened to Yin Chujio's words, and began to think about their little Jiojio. As for the extra petal, they naturally coveted it. However, they also knew that it would inevitably lead to a bloody storm. Now that their cultivation levels were the same, if anyone obtained an extra petal, their cultivation levels would definitely be much higher. The consequences would be unimaginable. Why not give it to this human girl? After she swallowed it, they could split it up and eat her. Wouldn't that be great? Moreover, they could also get rid of that damned map jade slip first. Otherwise, it would be bad if the humans targeted it. The 4 demonic beasts looked at each other, and instantly came to an agreement. They nodded at Yin Chujio, indicating that they agreed with her suggestion. Yin Chujio immediately took out 4 pills, and handed them to the 4 demonic beasts. Then she said, "If you don't trust me, you can wait for the frost plum blossom to bloom before taking it. You don't have to take it now. The 4 demonic beasts sneered in their hearts. Did this brat think that they were all 3-year-old little beasts? If they were to wait until it bloomed before taking it, those humans might chase after them. When that time comes, how would they have the time to take laxatives? Moreover, it seemed that the frost plum would still need another 2 to 3 hours before it bloomed. Now was the best time to take it. Hence, the 4 demonic beasts ignored Yin Chujio and directly swallowed the pill. A moment later, the 4 demonic beasts leaped into the bushes in the distance. After a while, the 4 demonic beasts walked back in a refreshed manner. They even specially instructed a few low-level demonic beasts to throw their storage rings far away. When the 4 demonic beasts saw that Yin Chujio was waiting for the petals to be split, they all revealed malicious looks. This little girl was really stupid. In a while, when she ate the petals, it would be the moment she lost her life. I think you should take a look at Snovel. Siamacron MTSK. The ancestors even said that humans were the most insidious species. Now it seemed that they were simply stupid. They, the demonic beasts, were the smart ones. At this moment, some demonic beasts cried out in surprise, because the flower bud had already slowly begun to bloom. A cool fragrance instantly spread out, dispersing the originally dry heat, making people feel refreshed. The 4 demonic beasts were very excited. They tried their best to inhale more of the fragrance. The frozen plum was indeed a good thing. It was not in vain for them to guard it for so many days. When they saw the silly smile on Yin Chujio's face, they could not hide their pride. This little human girl was probably still dreaming about splitting the petals. TSK, she was too stupid. The flower bud bloomed bit by bit, and finally it bloomed. The 4 demonic beasts were about to rush up to the ice surface to pick the frost plum, when a figure beat them to it. It was Yin Chujio. She picked up the frost plum, placed it in the jade box, and put it into her storage ring. The whole set of actions was smooth and natural, as if it had been planned. Alright, this fellow had planned it all out. The 4 demonic beasts saw that Yin Chujio not only snatched the frost plum, but also shamelessly put it into her storage ring, and were instantly enraged. What happened to one human petal? Did this stupid girl want to keep it all for herself? She was simply courting death. The 4 demonic beasts roared, and the rest of the demonic beasts supported them. The roars of the demonic beasts shook the sky. If they were cowards, they would have been scared to death. However, Heizinjia's smile became even brighter. The 4 demonic beasts became even angrier when they saw that Yin Chujio still had the face to smile. Just as they were about to rush forward to settle the score with Yin Chujio, they heard Yin Chujio say with a smile, "If you don't want the antidote, then do it. I don't care. After all, I'm not the one who died." The 4 demonic beasts were stunned. The antidote? What antidote? The laxative I gave you before contained some other ingredients. I don't want to treat you like this either. After all, I'm a very kind person. However, one must be wary of others. I have to have a foolproof plan. If you don't have any other ulterior motives, those ingredients won't harm you. However, you plan to eat me after the deed is done. Therefore, in order to protect myself, I can only harden my heart and deal with you. Yin Chujio said helplessly. The 4 demonic beasts looked at her innocent appearance. They were so angry that they wanted to tear her into pieces. However, they were afraid of the poison that she was talking about, and did not dare to make any moves for a moment. However, they thought about it again, and realized that it was not right. Their demonic beasts were naturally sensitive to poison, and there was nothing wrong with the laxative from before. Could it be that this stinky girl was trying to trick them? Yin Chujio seemed to have seen through their thoughts, and curled her lips. Do you think that I am trying to trick you? Then try using your spiritual power to see if your dantian is hurting faintly? When the 4 demonic beasts heard that, they immediately used their spiritual power. Sure enough, there was a slight pain in their dantian. This brat was actually telling the truth. She actually poisoned them. How did she do it? Yin Chujio kindly explained. It's very simple. If you don't have any bad intentions towards me, then the part of the poison that you swallowed won't be harmful. I think you should take a look at Snovel. Siamacron. But I saw that you guys have bad intentions towards me. So I took advantage of the moment when the unique frost plum bloomed and mixed in some good stuff. After you guys inhaled it, it turned into poison. TSK, what you guys inhaled just now was really desperate. Therefore, the effect of this poison must be very good. The 4 demonic beasts were dumbstruck when they heard that. How could they have thought that she had tampered with the fragrance? No wonder she laughed so shamelessly when she saw them sniffing the fragrance. It turned out that she was scheming against them. The 4 demonic beasts recalled the experience passed down by their ancestors, and were simply regretting it. If they had known earlier, they would not have had such devious thoughts. No, if they had known this would happen, they would not have listened to this wretched girl's nonsense. Perhaps, she was also the one who made up the matter about the ring. It was really too immoral. It was simply too immoral. Yun Chujio let out a long sigh and said, "Sigh. Seeing all of you so sad, I also feel quite uncomfortable in my heart. However, I am doing this for your own good. You haven't eaten the frost plum. So how do you know that eating it will definitely be beneficial to your cultivation? All of you basically have fire spirit roots, and the frost plum is too cold. You might die if you eat it. So maybe I accidentally saved all of you. Don't thank me too much." Although the 4 demon beasts felt that Yun Chujio was trying to be a good girl, they also felt that what she said made sense. This frost plum could turn hot springs into ice. If they were to rashly consume it, it might really backfire. Even so, they could not hide the fact that this stinky girl was deceiving them. When they thought about how they had worked so hard to protect the lone winter plum for so many days, and how it was about to be swallowed by the wretched girl before them, they were simply furious. "How about this? If you let me go, I will not only give you the antidote, but I will also give you some pills as well. How about it?" Yun Chujio said with a smile. The 4 demonic beasts wanted to refuse, but what could they do? Their lives were in the hands of this stinky girl. If they didn't listen to her, they would only die. They wanted to force Yun Chujio to hand over the antidote, but seeing Yun Chujio's attitude, they knew that it was useless to force her. Moreover, this stinky girl was full of bad ideas. If she agreed now, she could get some more pills. If she didn't agree, she might not even have those pills. Hence she was afraid. When Yun Chujio saw that the 4 demonic beasts were afraid, she immediately nodded her head in approval. "All of you are very sensible. No wonder you were able to become the leaders. Indeed, you have the qualities of a beast. Don't worry, I will not mistreat all of you." The 4 demonic beasts were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood. This kind of praise was better than scolding them. The more they praised, the more they felt that they were stupid. The demonic beasts made a path for them. Yun Chujio swaggered in front, followed by the 4 low-level demonic beasts. After they were out of the encirclement of the demonic beasts, Yun Chujio gave the 4 demonic beasts 4 antidotes and 4 big basins of medicinal pills. The 4 demonic beasts were dumbfounded. They originally thought that Yun Chujio only said that she would give them a few medicinal pills, but there were actually so many of them. "I think you should take a look at Snovel. Could it be fake?" But the fragrance of the pills was very rich. No matter how they looked at it, it seemed to be real. While they were in a daze, Yun Chujio had already turned into an afterimage and sped away. The 4 demon beasts probed for a long time, and finally confirmed that these pills were genuine high-grade pills. And they almost cried in excitement. That damned girl seemed to still have a little conscience, and it wasn't too bad. Seeing that the demonic beasts didn't chase after her, Yun Chujio summoned the giant rabbit to carry her, while she lay down on it to catch up on her sleep. When they were about to reach the meeting place, she put the giant rabbit away and met up with Jisoo and the others. Jisoo and the others tactfully didn't ask any further questions, but seeing her refreshed appearance, they knew that she had definitely succeeded. Jisoo said with some puzzlement, "Junior sister Yin, you said that the 10 people from the Divine Devil Hall did not succeed? Why hasn't there been any movement?" Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and did not answer Jisoo. Instead, she said to Yuanji, "Senior brother Yuanji, pretend that you lost the 2 map jade slips in your hands by accident." Although Yuanji did not know the purpose of Yun Chujio's actions, He still obediently threw the 2 map jade slips into the grass. The reason why he had 2 was because Yin Chujio had given Yuanji the storage ring of the dead Zen sect disciple in the Vitality Cave. Yin Chujio felt that the distance was far enough, so she said, "The people of the Divine Devil Hall are not interested in wine. Their target is not the 4 numinous treasures at all. To be exact, they don't care if they get the qualification to ascend." Chapter 54:26 Yin Chujio's guess Yuanji asked in confusion. "Aren't they aiming for the 4 numinous treasures? Then why did they come in? Besides, who doesn't want to get the qualification to ascend?" Yin Chujio curled her lips. "Don't forget, the main hall of the Divine Devil Hall is located in the Divine Enlightenment continent. If they want to ascend, why would they need to use this method to get the qualification to ascend?" Yuanji and the others were stunned. Yes, the Divine Devil Hall was different from them. It was much easier for them to obtain the qualification to ascend. Then the question arose. Since they didn't want to obtain the 4 treasures, why did they follow them in? Yin Chujio said indifferently, "As for their purpose, we will know when we reach Jinqiu Peak. I think they are already anxious from waiting." Hearing Yin Chujio's words, Yuanji did not quite understand the meaning behind Yin Chujio's words. Jisoo, on the other hand, thought of something. "Junior sister Yun, do you mean that those people from the Divine Devil Hall did not intend to leave the Golden Autumn Peak in the first place, and just waited for someone to collect the 3 treasures before walking into the trap?" "I am just guessing. I think the Divine Devil Hall has other schemes, but I still can't figure it out. Let's go and take a look first. Then we can make our plans," Yin Chujio said. "There were other schemes." "What schemes?" Jisoo and the others looked at each other. Forget it. They didn't have the abnormal brain of junior sister Yin. It was a waste of time to think about it. It was better to take things one step at a time. At this moment, it was bustling outside the Four Seasons mountain range. Mu Zian and the other 2 were seriously injured and sent back to the inn for treatment. The heads of the 3 families of the Mu family all had ugly expressions on their faces. However, they had been attacked by demonic beasts and could not be blamed on Yin Chujio and the Chan sect at all. Even if they had been beaten up by Yin Chujio and the others previously, it was because Mu Zian and the others had provoked them first. There was no reason for them to find fault with them. Sect leader Xian Hui was extremely satisfied with Yin Chujio in his heart. Yuan Qing and the other 2's masters were not on good terms with him. Now that Yuan Qing and the other 2 were dead, how could he not be happy? Moreover, the little girl had saved Yuanji and the others previously. This meant that she really regarded him as her master. Otherwise, she would not have taken the risk to save them. The reason why the onlookers were boiling with excitement was even simpler. Many of them had placed their bets on Yin Chujio. Initially, they thought that she was a troublemaker. Now, it seemed that she might really be able to collect the 4 treasures in the end. Although the crucial scenes had disappeared, no one was stupid. They had all guessed that Yin Chujio had obtained the 3 treasures, but they didn't know how she did it. Before the scenes disappeared, they had only seen her flirting with those demonic beasts. They didn't know how she had tricked those demonic beasts, but she had succeeded. The people of the Divine Enlightenment continent, in the VIP seats, were also slightly interested. It was a coincidence that she had succeeded once, but Yin Chujio had succeeded 3 times. How did she do it? However, they were more interested in the 4 numinous treasures. Now they were only missing the green jade shoots of the Golden Autumn Peak. However, the 10 people from the Divine Devil Hall hadn't succeeded, so they didn't know whether Yin Chujio would get them. On the screen, the 10 people from the Divine Devil Hall couldn't do anything to the gathered demonic beasts. Although they had been trying to think of a way, they were still in a stalemate. The old ancestor of the Lan family had a serious expression on his face. He had naturally thought of what Yin Chujio had thought of. From his point of view, the 10 people from the Divine Devil Hall seemed to be deliberately stalling for time, waiting for Yin Chujio and the others to arrive. Were they just trying to gather the 4 spiritual treasures, or did they have other plans? Chapter 54:27 Qi Dong stared at the shadow stone on the high platform with a cold glint in his eyes. Although there was some deviation, the result was still the same. A good show was about to begin. At this time, Yin Chujio and the others had already entered the Golden Autumn Peak. The crisp autumn weather on the Golden Autumn Peak was very comfortable. What made Hei Xinjiu even more comfortable was the wild fruits that could be seen everywhere. The guy picked a few of them in passing. Although they did not taste as good as the spiritual fruits, they had a different flavor. Fortunately, the guy knew that business was more important, so he did not waste any time. One day later, they met the people of the Divine Devil Hall. The 10 people of the Divine Devil Hall were all purple-masked men. Most of them were at the 3rd to 4th level of the spiritual obliteration realm. When the leader Qi Xian saw Yin Chujio, his eyes flickered. Yin Chujio, have you collected the other 3 treasures? Yin Chujio said indifferently. Take a guess. Qi Xian frowned and said, whether you have gathered the other 3 treasures or not, you can forget about obtaining the green jade shoots. When Yin Chujio heard that, she could not figure out the true purpose of the Divine Devil Hall. Could it be that they were guarding here to prevent others from gathering the 4 spiritual treasures? The Divine Devil Hall had gone through a lot of trouble to hold the Grand Firmament gathering. But in the end, they blocked people from obtaining the qualification to ascend. Wasn't that asking for a scolding? No matter how she looked at it, something did not seem right. However, she could not figure out the true purpose of the Divine Devil Hall. No matter what, she had to gather the 4 spiritual treasures first. She would just have to deal with each and every move. Therefore, Yin Chujio sneered and said, what? Do you want to stop us from going up here? Unexpectedly, Qi Xian made way and said, you underestimate the bearing of our Divine Devil Hall. Since we have held the Great Firmament Feast, why would we stop you from gathering the 4 treasures? What I mean is there are a lot of demonic beasts gathered here. You have no way to get the green jade shoots. Oh, then let's wait and see. Let's go. After Yin Chujio finished speaking, she brought Jisoo and the others and continued on their journey. Qi Xian and the others followed behind them, ostensibly wanting to broaden their horizons. Yin Chujio sneered in her heart, but did not say anything. The group of people soon approached the peak of the Golden Autumn Peak. There were indeed a lot of demonic beasts gathered there. After those demonic beasts discovered Yin Chujio and the others, they immediately roared and stopped them from approaching. Yin Chujio frowned. As the 10 people of the Divine Devil Hall had been trying to approach the peak these days, these demonic beasts were very irritable and vigilant. The method she used in the other 3 peaks might not work. How could she trick them? A hint of contempt and schadenfreude flashed in the eyes of Qi Xian and the others. They wanted to see what she would do. Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes and pondered for a while. Then, she took out 2 jade boxes, stretched her neck and shouted, hey, I want to trade the ice plum and the dry bone Ganoderma for the green jade sprout. Do you want to trade? Almost in an instant, 3 high-level demon beasts jumped out and saw the jade box in Yin Chujio's hand with doubt. Yin Chujio opened the jade box and quickly put it into her storage ring. How about it? Do you want to trade? If you agree, let me go over. I want to personally pick the green jade shoots, so that you won't destroy its medicinal properties. The 3 high-level demon beasts looked at each other. This human girl was really stupid. As long as she entered, her life would be in their hands. Trade? HMPH. All of it was theirs. Even she was their food. Thus, the 3 high-level demon beasts growled a few times, and the demon beasts opened a path. Yin Chujio strolled in leisurely. Chapter 54 28 Tender Jade shoots Jisoo, and the others were about to say something. But thinking about it, this wasn't the first time this fellow had done something like this. There shouldn't be any problems. Qi Xian and the others felt that Yin Chujio was courting death. Since she was courting death, they naturally wouldn't stop her. After Yin Chujio entered, she discovered that there was a 3-foot-tall small tree in front of her. On the tree, there was a golden fruit. This fellow could not help but feel a little puzzled. Where was the green jade sprout that they had agreed on? Just as she was feeling puzzled, the 3 high-level demonic beasts started to threaten her and roar. It seemed like they wanted her to hand over the winter plum and the withered bone Ganoderma. Yin Chujio curled the corners of her lips. Humans put honesty first. Demonic beasts should do the same. Since we have already agreed on the terms, isn't it a little too ungrateful for you to go back on your words now? The three high-level demonic beasts let out a maniacal roar, thinking that this human girl in front of them was simply too stupid. Talking about honesty with the demonic beasts? Is there something wrong with your brain? Do you think that I can only obediently submit to you since you've trapped me here? If I die, you won't be able to open my storage ring at all. Then, you'll never be able to obtain the lone frost plum and the withered bone Ganoderma. Moreover, if I don't survive, I will destroy both jade and stone. If you destroy the lone frost plum and the withered bone Ganoderma, you will get nothing. Yin Chujio said with a cold smile. The three high-level demon beasts immediately hesitated. Clearly, they were afraid of taking action. Yin Chujio continued. After I pick the green jade sprouts, I will naturally hand over the 2 jade boxes to you. No matter how you look at it, you have gained a great advantage. Why must you fight to the death? The three high-level demonic beasts looked at each other. Forget it. If they could get the ice plum and the dry bone Ganoderma, it wouldn't be too bad. There was no need to take the risk. If this little girl really came to destroy both the jade and the stone, they would suffer a huge loss. As for whether Yin Chujio would go back on her words or not, it wasn't within their consideration, because they felt that Yin Chujio wouldn't dare. If she dared to lie to them, they would kill her. Moreover, didn't she say that? People put honesty first, so she naturally would not lie. Seeing that the three high-level demon beasts no longer had any intention of attacking her, Yin Chujio's gaze fell on the small tree once again, wondering in her heart how the green jade sprout would appear. Very quickly, 2 hours passed, but the fruit did not change much. Just as Yin Chujio was feeling a little anxious, the fruit fell to the ground. After the fruit fell to the ground, it was instantly smashed into pieces and gave off an unpleasant smell. Yin Chujio. Could it be that these demonic beasts made a mistake? No matter how she looked at it, it didn't look like some heavenly and earthly treasure. Just as Yin Chujio was cursing in her heart, she was surprised to find that there was a green jade-like sprout emerging from the core of the fruit. Just as she was shocked, she heard the three high-level demonic beast surging roars. Yin Chujio suddenly realized that this was the green jade sprout. TSK, these three demonic beasts were really silly and cute. Yin Chujio went forward and put the green jade sprout together with the core into the jade box, and then put it into her storage ring. Yin Chujio took out 2 jade boxes, opened them for the 3 high-level demonic beasts to take a look, and then closed them again. The 3 high-level demon beasts immediately became excited when they saw that the contents were indeed the frost plum and the withered bone Ganoderma. Although the green jade shoots were taken by this little girl, they did not lose anything. Moreover, they had made a huge profit. Chapter 54:29, 2 jade boxes. If you let me out, I'll give you these 2 jade boxes. Don't worry, I'm so weak. If I go back on my words, you can kill me, said Yin Chujio. The 3 high-level demon beasts looked at each other. Even if this little girl had more than 10 companions outside, they wouldn't be her match. She wouldn't dare to play any tricks. If she dared to lie to them, they would take the risk of not getting anything to kill her. Thus, they opened a path. Yin Chujio held the 2 jade boxes in her hands and walked out unhurriedly. When she was about to leave, she seemed to ask carelessly, "You 3 beasts, and there are only 2 jade boxes. How are you going to distribute them later? Will there be a fight?" When the 3 high-level demonic beasts heard this, they immediately stopped and looked at each other warily. They were all thinking about their little Jiojio. At this moment, Yin Chujio threw the 2 jade boxes in her hands in front of them and said, "Here, I'm a man of my word. I'll give the jade boxes to you." The 3 high-level demonic beasts did not have the time to bother with Yin Chujio at this time. They all went to fight for the 2 jade boxes. After a long battle, 2 of the high-level demonic beasts had the upper hand. They worked together to kill the other high-level demonic beast. Then, they happily opened the jade boxes that they had obtained. There was nothing inside. Where were the frost plum and dry bone Ganoderma? The two high-level demonic beasts were instantly dumbfounded. Then they let out a heart-wrenching roar. They had been deceived. What happened to putting honesty first? What happened to not deceiving them? Liar. Big liar. Hey Shinjio, who had already run far away, heard the faint roar and curled the corner of her mouth. She had not deceived them. Those were 2 jade boxes. She had originally said that she would exchange the 2 jade boxes for the green jade shoots. Qi Xian's eyes flashed. This Yin Chujio was really a little strange. She actually managed to swindle the tender green jade shoots so easily? However, so what? Everything was under the control of the hall master. At this moment, Yin Chujio clutched her stomach and said with a somewhat embarrassed expression, "I'll go and do something. You guys go first. There's no need to wait for me." Jisoo sighed. "Junior sister Yin, I told you that those wild fruits cannot be eaten, but you didn't believe me. This time you've eaten something bad, right?" Yin Chujio smiled awkwardly, then ran into the grass with her hand on her stomach. Qi Xian and the others were a little hesitant. Jisoo pursed his lips. "What? Do you want to see junior sister Yin show her respect?" Qi Xian snorted coldly. He felt that Yin Chujio couldn't play any tricks, so he followed Jisoo and the others and left. Yin Chujio squatted in the grass. Seeing that Qi Xian and the others had gone far away, she let out the Gowei Batsao and specially instructed it to save up a lot of money. Gowei Batsao was overwhelmed by the favor. She quickly agreed. Yin Chujio did not stop releasing Gowei Batsao until her face was a little pale. Then she said, "I have a feeling that the Divine Devil Hall has other plans. You hide here well and listen to my instructions when the time comes." Gowei Batsao shook its leaves in high spirits. It was the opportunity for Gowei Batsao to make a name for itself. Yin Chujio did not dare to delay for too long. After instructing Gowei Batsao, she covered her stomach and left the bush, catching up with Qi Xian and the others. Yin Chujio had been wary of Qi Xian and the others making a move, but she realized that they did not seem to have any intention of making a move. This was strange. If they had no other purpose, there was no need for them to enter the Four Seasons mountain range. Yin Chujio was puzzled until she left the Four Seasons mountain range and returned to the venue of the Chongshao Grand Meeting. Nothing else happened. Chapter 54:30 Ascending Talisman. As soon as Yin Chujio returned to the venue, she heard a tsunami-like cheer. "Haha, that's great. It seems that Yin Chujio has already collected 4 spiritual treasures. My bet is right. I'm rich. I'm rich. Not only can I get a share of the gambling money, but I can also get the additional 10 million upper-grade spiritual stones from the Divine Devil Hall. How wonderful. Getting rich is one thing, but the most important thing is Miss Zhang Yun's happiness. She's about to ascend." Although Mu Zian and the other 2 were severely injured, they still sat on the couch and collapsed to the venue. When they saw Yin Chujio's smug look, their faces instantly turned as pale as paper. They knew that they could no longer compete with Yin Chujio. They were no longer worthy to be her opponents. From now on, they were merely ants to her. Qi Dong's face was beaming with joy as he said, "Congratulations, Miss Yin. It seems that you have already collected the 4 treasures. Please hand them over to me." Yin Chujio saw that Qi Dong was smiling rather happily, and her vigilance grew. Something was not right. Something was not right. Logically speaking, Qi Dong should be very angry that she was qualified to ascend. So why would he be so happy? Although Yin Chujio was suspicious in her heart, her face showed just the right amount of joy, and she handed the 4 spiritual treasures to Qi Dong. Qi Dong handed the 4 spiritual treasures to Palace Master Long of the Godly Demon Palace. The people of the Divine Enlightenment continent craned their necks to look at the 4 jade boxes. Palace Master Long opened the jade boxes with understanding. When they saw the 4 spiritual treasures inside, they all looked eager. After Palace Master Long closed the jade boxes, he said, "Everyone, according to our agreement, I will give these 4 spiritual treasures to Hall Master Shur of the main hall, who is best at refining elixirs. After they are refined into elixirs, I will give them to you according to our agreement." The people of the Divine Enlightenment continent nodded in satisfaction. No one raised any objections. After putting away the 4 jade boxes, Palace Master Long glanced at Yin Chujio and said, "Yin Chujio, you have collected the 4 spiritual treasures and obtained the qualification to ascend. This is the Ascension Talisman and the entry token to the Divine Enlightenment continent. You can activate them within a month." After saying this, Palace Master Long handed the Ascension Talisman and the entry token to Qi Dong, who handed them over to Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio took them and looked at them. Although the Ascension Talisman sounded like a talisman, it looked more like a jade token with complicated patterns drawn on it. As for the other entry token, it looked ordinary with the words entry token written on it. Of course, she was sure that these 2 items were real. After all, the godly demon palace was not stupid enough to cheat in front of the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent. Then the problem was that the godly demon palace had mobilized so many people to do this just to benefit her? No matter how she thought about it, it felt strange. If not, what was their purpose? Yin Chujio put the 2 items into her storage ring and returned to her seat. Sitting next to her, the head of the Qi family had a complicated expression on his face. There must be some envy, jealousy, and hatred. After all, most people would never have the chance to ascend in their entire lives. However, Yin Chujio had gotten the chance that she had always dreamed of. She was simply lucky. However, he was also a little puzzled. Other people might not know, but these influential figures knew about the grudge between the Divine Devil Hall and Yin Chujio. However, whether it was Palace Master Long of the Divine Devil Hall or Protector Qi Dong, they seemed to be happy that Yin Chujio was qualified to ascend. What the hell? Chapter 5431 was like this. Yin Chujio felt the gaze of Patriarch Qi and turned around with a smile. "Senior Qi, you are looking at me with such concentration. Do you have something to say to me?" Patriarch Qi. Patriarch Qi squeezed out a smile and said, "Little girl, congratulations on obtaining the qualification to ascend. Your future is boundless." Yin Chujio nodded. "Thank you, Patriarch Qi. I didn't expect that the Divine Devil Hall would treat me so well. They spent so much effort just to fulfill my wish." Patriarch Qi laughed dryly and said, "No wonder Protector Qi moved your seat here. It turns out that he had already predicted that you would be qualified to ascend." Patriarch Qi was simply trying to find something to say. Unexpectedly, when Yin Chujio heard what he said, she was stunned. Previously, when the person from the 1,000 Feet sect wanted to confront her, she pretended to fall off the stage, and Qi Dong arranged for her to sit here. At that time, she felt that Qi Dong did this to appease her. After all, there was an uninterrupted supply of spirit fruits and refreshments in the VIP seats, so she didn't think too much about it. But the real reason would definitely not be like this. So why did he move her seat here all of a sudden? After thinking about it, there were only 2 reasons. One was that there was something fishy about the seat she was sitting in, and the second was that there was something wrong with the seat she was originally sitting in. But what could be wrong with it? She carefully recalled what had happened before. If it weren't for Qi Dong going up on stage and saying that he wanted to sow discord, that person from the 1,000 Feet sect wouldn't have proposed to confront her. And before that, the Divine Devil Hall had first given a lot of tea and spirit fruits, and they had given the Lan family a lot more than others. Could it be that there was something wrong with her seat? That wasn't right. The Divine Devil Hall wasn't stupid. If there was something wrong with her seat, they wouldn't have given it to the Lan family. There was no need to make up for it later. At this moment, Palace Master Long of the Divine Devil Hall was already saying some polite words. It was nothing more than the conclusion of this grand meeting. It was estimated that the meeting would be dismissed soon. Yin Chujio was so anxious that her forehead was covered in sweat. She felt that there must be something wrong with this. Moreover, she had already touched the edge of it, but she just could not find the main point. Seeing that she was in a daze, the head of the Qi family thought wickedly in his heart that this Yin Chujio could not have been overly excited. So she directly became a fool, right? he said somewhat gloatingly. Little girl, what's wrong with you? Yin Chujio was not in the mood to deal with him now. She said indifferently, Senior Chi, I'm fine. I'm just thinking about something. Seeing that she spoke clearly, Patriarch Chi could not help but feel a little disappointed. He said casually, It's good that you're fine. Aren't you willing to eat the fruit? Here, eat it. At such a young age, don't think so hard. Eat something to distract your attention. Yin Chujio suddenly looked at Patriarch Chi, giving him a fright. This little girl was indeed abnormal. Was she going to eat someone? Yin Chujio didn't say anything. Patriarch Chi's words just now appeared in her mind. Distract her attention? Yes, distract her attention. Chi Dong had sent people to deliver fruits to her out of the blue, and asked her to go on stage to distract her attention. But why did he do that? What was he afraid of? Yin Chujio's eyes lit up. She seemed to have found the crux of the problem. When she was catching up on her sleep, she dreamed that there were spiritual stones under the seat. So after she woke up, she had been digging in boredom. Could it be that there was some unspeakable secret under the seat? The more Yin Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that it was the case. Moreover, this also explained some of her confusion. Chapter 5432. What was the explanation? Before they entered the Four Seasons mountain range, the Divine Devil Hall had put on some gaudy performances, which made people feel very uncomfortable. Now it seemed that they were most likely stalling for time. Moreover, originally, the Divine Devil Hall had no need to send people to enter the Four Seasons mountain range, but they had sent 10 people instead. Their purpose was obvious, and it was also to stall for time. They were guarding the Golden Autumn Peak. Anyone who wanted to gather the 4 treasures would definitely reach the Golden Autumn Peak. If there was enough time, they didn't need to do anything. However, if there wasn't enough time, they could intervene and continue to stall for time. The more Yin Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that her guess was right. Then, what was the use of the array formation under the seats? Did they want to kill everyone? Yin Chujio quickly denied this answer, because no matter how arrogant the godly demon palace was, they wouldn't dare to kill everyone in the divine enlightenment continent. Then what was the use of this array formation? Yin Chujio gritted her teeth. No matter what the use was, as long as she exposed the secrets under the seat to the public, the scheme of the godly demon palace would never succeed. Thinking of this, Yin Chujio picked up a spirit fruit and ate it. She accidentally spilled the juice on her clothes. She mumbled and took out a piece of cloth to cover her knees. From the point of view of Patriarch Chi and the others, she was afraid of dirtying her clothes, so she used that piece of cloth to catch it. Therefore, she did not have any doubts. Little did she know that Yin Chujio took this opportunity to secretly release Xiaohei and let it burrow into the ground. Before Yin Chujio had finished eating the fruit, Xiaohei had already responded. Master, there are many jade tokens similar to your Heaven Ascension talisman. I don't know what they are used for. Yin Chujio immediately sneered in her heart. In short, they were not very useful. Yin Chujio put Xiaohei into her spirit beast bag, and then looked at the high platform. At this moment, Palace Master Long on the platform was about to announce the disbanding of the conference, when Yin Chujio suddenly stood up. The cloth on her body just happened to cover the hole that Xiaohei had come out of. Palace Master Long, don't announce the disbanding of the meeting yet. I have a few questions that I want to ask you, Yin Chujio said coldly. Palace Master Long subconsciously frowned and then said, If Miss Yin has any questions, you can ask me after the meeting is over. Why are you in such a hurry? Yin Chujio chuckled. I don't want to be in such a hurry, but this matter is of great importance, and it has to do with everyone present, especially the seniors of the Divine Enlightenment continent. Of course, I'm extremely anxious. Palace Master Long suddenly had an ominous premonition, and he wanted to reject her stiffly. However, when he saw that the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent were all looking at him suspiciously, he could only say, Tell me, what's your problem? Although the Great Firmament Territory Assembly looks decent, there seem to be more things that don't make sense. Firstly, although it's difficult to search for these 4 spiritual treasures, with the strength of the Divine Demon Hall, It probably won't be too difficult. Why did the Divine Demon Hall make such a big fuss to hold the Great Firmament Territory Assembly? Secondly, Palace Master Long just said that these 4 spiritual treasures will be refined into elixirs and given to the major forces in the Divine Enlightenment continent. In that case, there's no need for the seniors of the Divine Enlightenment continent to come here. Thirdly, since the 4 numinous treasures are so crucial, the Divine Devil Hall should have seized all the time to let us in. Why do they have to put on some flashy performances at the beginning of the Great Firmament Territory Feast? Finally, the 10 people you sent to the 4 Seasons mountain range don't seem to be searching for the 4 numinous treasures. Instead, they seem to be stalling for time. Palace Master Long, how do you explain this? Chapter 5432 Right and Wrong. Palace Master Long's eyes flashed slightly as he said unhappily, Yin Chujio, you and our Divine Devil Hall have always had a grudge against each other. We have put aside our past grudges and given you the qualification to ascend, yet you are here to sow discord between us. How outrageous is this? There is nothing to explain about what you have said. I have no qualms about it, and there is no need for me to stall for time. Seeing that you're young and ignorant, I won't argue with you anymore. If you continue to be unreasonable, then hand over the qualification to ascend. Hearing that, Yin Chujio's voice became colder. She said, although I, Yin Chujio, am very eager to ascend, but if you want to use this to threaten me, then you have the wrong plan. Everyone, the Divine Devil Hall has always been secretive, and Palace Master Long has avoided answering my questions. There's clearly something fishy going on here. Even if I, Yin Chujio, don't want this qualification to ascend, I have to get to the bottom of this matter today. Right and wrong, we will naturally know when we dig up the soil under this seat. Palace Master Long's pupils suddenly constricted, and he shouted with a stern look on his face. This is outrageous. Qidong, take back her qualification to ascend. Master Lan, for your sake, I will not argue with her today. If she continues to mislead people, I will not be polite. As soon as Palace Master Long finished speaking, many disciples of the Divine Devil Hall walked towards Yin Chujio's direction. It was obvious that if Yin Chujio said anything else, they would attack her. Yin Chujio didn't show any fear on her face as she bowed towards the VIP seats. Seniors, I, Yin Chujio, am not a fool. If there wasn't something fishy going on underground, I wouldn't have offended the Divine Devil Hall on the premise that I have the qualifications to ascend. To be honest, I didn't know what was going on underground, but my spiritual pet was mischievous. It dug a hole in the ground and found that there were several jade tokens similar to the Heaven Ascension Talisman buried underground. I'm inexperienced and don't know the use of those jade tokens. I'm sure you all know it. As Yin Chujio said this, she lifted up the cloth on the ground and revealed a small hole. The people from the Divine Enlightenment continent, who were in the VIP seats, stood up immediately. Many jade tokens that were similar to the Ascension Talisman? Yin Chujio didn't know, but they knew. Not only was the spiritual energy in the Divine Enlightenment continent much denser than that in the Heavy Cloud continent, but it was also much more advanced than that in other aspects. In the Divine Enlightenment continent, no one used talisman paper to draw talismans anymore. Instead, they drew talismans on specially made jade tokens. This kind of jade talisman solved the problem of the supply of spiritual energy, so its effect was many times stronger than paper talismans. Moreover, it could be used to set up a formation directly. If what Yin Chujio said was true, then there must be a huge formation below. The Divine Devil Hall couldn't set up a formation below for no reason, and they even deliberately used jade talismans to set it up. Obviously, there was a problem. The 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Hall and the Divine Devil Hall did not have a good relationship to begin with. Master Wu Bin immediately said, Ba. Palace Master Long, since Yin Chujio's words are so logical, let's dig it up and see. Palace Master Long cupped his hands. Master Wu Ben, this Yin Chujio is trying to mislead the masses and sow discord between our sections. If we really send people to dig up the ground, where would our Divine Devil Hall's face be? Moreover, we have no reason to set up any array formation, so this is simply nonsense. I happen to want to give the 4 spiritual treasures to Hall Master Sure of the main hall. Why don't we set off now? Master Wu Ben frowned. He naturally understood what Palace Master Long meant by these words. He wanted to use medicinal pills to gag him. He thought about it again. Even if there was an array formation down there, it had nothing to do with the Divine Enlightenment continent, and it also had nothing to do with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall. There was no need to take it seriously. Thus he said faintly, "All right, let's set off." Chapter 54 33 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array Palace Master Long looked at Yin Chujio with slight contempt, and sneered in his heart. Although this Yin Chujio was intelligent, she had misjudged one thing. In the eyes of the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent, the lives of the people of the Chongshao continent were as worthless as grass. Not to mention that this underground was just an unknown array, even if he killed people in front of them. As long as it didn't involve their own interests, they wouldn't interfere. Seeing that Master Wu Ben was about to leave, Yin Chujio raised her voice and said, "Master Wu Ben, don't you think that there's a problem with the Divine Devil Hall's hospitality in inviting you over? Especially since they purposely made you wait here for 10 days. Aren't you curious about what array formation is down there? I heard that the Divine Devil Hall and the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall's relationship is not too harmonious. Why would the Divine Devil Hall be so kind to give you the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall's medicinal pills? Don't you have the slightest doubt as to whether what falls from the sky is a pie or a stone?" Master Wu Ben frowned. Firstly, he was displeased with Yin Chujio's aggressive stance. Secondly, he was suspicious. That's right. Why would the Divine Devil Hall be so kind? They wouldn't get up early without benefits. What exactly were they planning? Thinking of this, Master Wu Ben stopped in his tracks. "Palace Master Long, since this Yin Chujio is so certain, why don't we dig her up and have a look?" Palace Master Long's face stiffened. "Master Wu Ben, if we can send this numinous treasure back to the main hall earlier, we can also refine it earlier. Why do we have to waste time on such a small matter?" Yin Chujio immediately interjected. "Are you using medicinal pills to blackmail Master Wu Ben? How can a monk like Master Wu Ben be blackmailed by you?" "Master Wu Ben." He took a deep breath and said, "Let's dig it up and have a look. This is also to prove the innocence of your Divine Devil Hall." Palace Master Long looked at Yin Chujio coldly and said, "Okay, if that's the case, let's dig it up and see." Immediately, the guards of the Godly Demon Palace dug up a small part of the ground and found 2 jade talismans that looked like heaven-rising talismans. There was an uproar. "Oh my God! The Godly Demon Palace has set up a formation under the seats. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to do? They must be up to no good. Perhaps once the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent leave, they will trap all of us here. They are so damn shameless. No wonder they are so eager to hold the Great Firmament Feast. It turns out that they have such an idea." The faces of Master Liaowu and the others were very unsightly. Even the faces of the Qi family's patriarch and the others were also unsightly. The Divine Devil Hall didn't inform them in advance. Could it be that they wanted to kill them too? This was really outrageous. Master Wu Ben's tone was somewhat gloomy as he said, "Palace Master Long, what explanation do you have for this? What exactly are your Divine Devil Hall's intentions?" Palace Master Long shook his head and said helplessly, "Master Wu Ben, please don't jump to conclusions before the matter is clear. Vice-Chancellor Duanmu, you have done a lot of research on array formations. Why don't you see what kind of array formation this is?" Vice-Chancellor Duanmu of the 10 Directions Academy took the 2 jade talisman seals and looked at them. Then he said, "These are the jade talisman seals of the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array." Vice-Chancellor Mo of the Divine Enlightenment Academy nodded at the side. "That's right. These are indeed the jade talisman seals of the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array." Master Wu Ben was stunned. The 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array? As the name implied, once the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array was activated, it could gather spiritual qi. Not only was it harmless, but it was also beneficial. Chapter 5434 was completely dug out. Palace Master Long said with a wry smile. I know that the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent aren't used to the thin spiritual energy in the heavy cloud continent. So I set up the 8-directional spirit gathering array. I didn't want to say it at first. After all, this is what we should do as a landlord. But since Yin Chujio wants to frame us, I can only prove my innocence. Master Wu Ben looked a little embarrassed when he heard that. He looked at Yin Chujio with displeasure, obviously venting his anger on her. Yin Chujio frowned slightly. Was the Divine Devil Hall so kind? If it was really the 8-sided spirit gathering array, why did they have to hide it? There must be something wrong here. She rolled her eyes and said, Palace Master Long, you only got people to dig out 2 jade talismans, but the area here is so big. Who knows if you have set up other arrays? Maybe this 8-sided spirit gathering formation is just your cover. If you really want to prove your innocence, then dig out all the jade talisman seals. Don't say that you're afraid of trouble. You have to dig them out sooner or later, don't you? Palace Master Long's face suddenly turned ugly. Yin Chujio, don't think that you can be unscrupulous just because you have the qualification to ascend. If you continue to spout nonsense, don't blame me for being impolite. Oh, are you flustered? Did I hit the nail on the head? Master Wu Ben, do you think we should continue digging? Master Wu Ben frowned. He originally did not want to get involved in this mess. But the matter just now had undoubtedly been slapped in the face by Palace Master Long. If they could really dig out another array formation, not only would they be able to regain their face, they might even be able to take the opportunity to blackmail the Divine Devil Hall. Hence, he said indifferently, Palace Master Long, what Yin Chujio said makes sense. In any case, you will have to remove the formation here in the end. Why don't you dig it out and shut her mouth? Palace Master Long's expression was very ugly. Deputy General Sima of the Ironblood Killing Alliance said casually, Stop wasting time. Just dig it out quickly. You people are taking too many detours. We have already dug out enough time to say these words. Yin Chujio's eyes lit up and immediately flattered. What General Sima said makes sense. There's no time to lose. Why don't we all dig together? This way, the speed will be much faster. When Deputy General Sima heard Yin Chujio call him General Sima, he was very happy and immediately said, Little girl is right. Don't just stand there. Dig together, and dig out all the jade talismans below. The onlookers loved to join in the fun. As soon as Deputy General Sima finished his words, they all started digging. Yin Chujio glanced at Palace Master Long. Seeing that he was not panicking, but was rather proud of himself, her heart sank. Could it be that there was nothing wrong with these jade talismans? She was sure that the Divine Devil Hall had other motives this time. If there was nothing wrong with these jade talismans, then why did the Divine Devil Hall spend so much manpower and resources to set up the spirit gathering array? It was not like the Divine Devil Hall had nothing better to do. What was it for? Yin Chujio's head hurt from thinking about it, but she did not have any clue. She was burning with anxiety. If the jade talismans that were dug out were still materials for the 8-direction spirit gathering array, not only would it not expose the Divine Devil Hall's conspiracy, but it would also make Master Wu Ben unhappy with her. It was very likely that he would revoke her right to ascend. However, no matter how much she thought about it, she could not find a breakthrough point. She could not wait for everyone to dig a little slower. However, the more people there were, the greater the strength. In just 15 minutes, they had dug out hundreds of jade talismans from the ground. Chapter 5435 withdrew the qualification to ascend. Vice-Chancellor Duanmu and Vice-Chancellor Mo flipped through the hundreds of jade talisman seals, and then said with certainty, These jade talisman seals are all the materials of the octagonal spirit gathering array. There's nothing unusual about them. Master Wu Ben was not familiar with arrays and asked with a stiff face, Then why are there so many of them? Vice-Chancellor Duanmu explained, The octagonal spirit gathering array is not a large-scale array. An octagonal spirit gathering array only needs 8,864 jade talisman seals. The Divine Demon Hall is probably afraid that the area covered by the array formation is too small, so they have set up 8 octagonal spirit gathering arrays. That's why they have so many jade talisman seals. Palace Master Long nodded. Vice-Chancellor Duanmu is right. The larger the area covered by the array formation, the more people will benefit from it. That's why I borrowed so many jade talisman seals from the main hall. Everyone was dumbfounded. So they had misunderstood the Divine Devil Hall? Not only did they not mean any harm, but they were also full of good intentions. This was awkward. The bystanders immediately showed their true nature and pointed their spears at Yin Chujio. I told you that the Divine Devil Hall wouldn't do anything bad. Look, not only are they not trying to harm us, they are doing it for our own good. It's all Yin Chujio's fault for misleading us. If it weren't for her lies, how would we suspect the Divine Devil Hall? Yes, that's right. Didn't Palace Master Long say so before? That Yin Chujio and the Divine Devil Hall have a grudge against each other. She must have deliberately framed the Divine Devil Hall. The Divine Devil Hall didn't care about the past and gave her the qualification to ascend, but she repaid the favor with enmity. How shameless. In my opinion, a person like her doesn't deserve the qualification to ascend. She might as well give it to someone else. You're right. If a person like her ascends, she might stir up trouble in the Divine Enlightenment continent. She's a scourge, a pest. Yin Chujio didn't care about the discussions of these people. Her mind was still searching for clues. As long as something existed, there would definitely be traces of it. No matter how secretive the actions of the Divine Devil Hall were, there would still be flaws. She needed to think carefully. Just as she was racking her brains, Palace Master Long said coldly, Yin Chujio, you are narrow-minded. You seek revenge for your own personal vendetta. You don't have the qualifications to ascend. Return the ascending talisman and the passage token to this seat. For the sake of the Lan family, I will let you off this time. If you continue to be stubborn, don't blame me for being impolite. As soon as Palace Master Long finished his words, the onlookers started to clamor. They were all shouting that Palace Master Long was magnanimous, and that Yin Chujio was a petty person. The Lan family's ancestor and the others wanted to plead on behalf of Yin Chujio, but when they saw Master Wu Ben's gloomy expression, they didn't dare to say anything. This time, Little Nine's cleverness had been mistaken. Of course, they also thought that the Divine Devil Hall wouldn't be so kind as to set up a spirit gathering array in all directions. But that was the truth. Little Nine was going to fall this time. Yin Chujio calmly sized up everyone in the Divine Enlightenment continent, and she saw that Master Wu Ben's expression was also very unsightly. He had suffered a big setback this time, so he naturally took out his anger on Yin Chujio. Even if Palace Master Long didn't say anything, he would still suggest that she withdraw her qualification to ascend. The other people of the Divine Enlightenment continent didn't have any expression on their faces. Only Deputy General Sima's face had a faint trace of sympathy. Yin Chujio had a splitting headache, but she still couldn't think of anything. She could only take out the Ascension Talisman and the Passage Jade token from her storage ring, preparing to hand them over to Palace Master Long. Chapter 5436 was slightly different. Yin Chujio was really unwilling to lose the qualification to ascend just like that. However, the current situation was extremely disadvantageous to her, so she had no choice but to hand it over. She walked forward slowly, but she was still calculating in her heart. Was this 8-sided spirit gathering array just a cover? No, it definitely wouldn't be like this. If it was just a cover, the Divine Devil Hall wouldn't need to mobilize so many people. It was just a pity that she knew nothing about the so-called 8-sided spirit gathering array. Otherwise, she might be able to find some flaws. Not to mention the octagonal spirit gathering array. She couldn't even understand this jade talisman seal. It seemed like she had seen the patterns on this jade talisman seal before. That's right. Previously, she had scammed the Heaven-grade talisman seal's inheritance from the Heavenly Dao Cliff. Because the level was too high, she had never been able to draw it. And the patterns on this jade talisman seal were the same as one of the spirit-gathering talismans in the inheritance. No, they were not exactly the same. Although the difference was very slight, the slightest error in the drawing of the talisman was thousands of miles away. This was definitely not the 8-sided spirit-gathering array. However, Yin Chujio was still uncertain. The inheritance of the heavenly Tao cliff came from the ancient times. Perhaps the 8-sided spirit-gathering array had been modified. If she rashly raised objections, it would probably cause the people of the Divine Enlightenment continent to be even more dissatisfied. What should she do? Palace Master Long saw that Yin Chujio didn't give him the Ascendant Talisman in her hand. Instead, she stared at the jade talisman seals on the ground and urged unhappily, "Yin Chujio, what are you waiting for? Yin Chujio, why aren't you handing over the Ascendant Talisman to me? Are you trying to cheat me?" Just as Yin Chujio was hesitating whether she should raise her objections, the Guai Chao in her dantian shook its leaves and transmitted some urgent emotions to Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio immediately understood that the Gowei Batsao must have discovered something. It was just a pity that the Gowei Batsao couldn't speak, so she had no way of knowing what had happened. Yin Chujio gritted her teeth. There was no other way now, so she had to gamble. Anyway, with Master Liaowu and the others around, even if she would suffer a little, she wouldn't lose her life. Thinking of this, Yin Chujio put the ascending talisman and the passage jade token back into her storage ring. Palace Master Long's face revealed a mocking expression. This Yin Chujio was really smart and muddle-headed. Was she planning to go back on her words? The people of the Divine Enlightenment continent also revealed looks of disdain. The people of the lower continents were indeed inferior. Deputy General Sima also frowned, and the pity he originally felt for Yin Chujio turned into disdain. At this moment, Yin Chujio picked up a jade talisman and said respectfully, "Deputy Headmaster Duanmu and Deputy Headmaster Mo. This junior respectfully invites the two seniors to re-examine this jade talisman." When Yin Chujio said this, she looked at Palace Master Long from the corner of her eyes. Seeing his pupils slightly shrink, she immediately felt that there must be something wrong with this jade talisman. How outrageous! Yin Chujio, I originally thought that you were still young, so I forgave you. I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful and dare to question the abilities of Vice-Chancellor Duanmu and Vice-Chancellor Mo. The two of them are quite skilled in jade talisman seals. Could it be that they were mistaken about the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array's talisman seals? Hurry up and apologize to the two of them, Palace Master Long said sternly. His words were watertight. Even if Vice-Chancellor Duanmu and Vice-Chancellor Mo had the intention to examine it carefully, they wouldn't continue to do so after hearing his words. This was because if they were to investigate the problem, wouldn't they be overturning their previous conclusions? If this were to spread, where would their face go? Chapter 5437 was not the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array as expected. After hearing Palace Master Long's words, Vice-Chancellor Duanmu and Vice-Chancellor Mo's faces were immediately filled with displeasure as they released their pressure on Yin Chujio. Although Yin Chujio was not afraid of their pressure, in order not to expose herself, she forced herself to break out in a cold sweat, and her body began to tremble. Palace Master Long watched from the side and felt very pleased in his heart. She was just a little girl. What kind of storm was she trying to stir up? The old ancestor of the Lan family, Master Liaowu, and the others looked at Yin Chujio worriedly. They all winked at her, asking her to admit her mistake. As long as there was life, there was always hope. It was not a wise choice to fight against the Divine Devil Hall now. However, Yin Chujio straightened her back, her eyes full of determination. I don't know anything about the jade talisman, but there is nothing more convincing than the truth. Since this talisman seal is the material of the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array, I believe that after it is activated, it can also gather spiritual qi. Yin Chujio's gaze landed on Qi Dong. Protector Qi Dong, why don't you try activating it? Qi Dong's pupils suddenly constricted and he shouted coldly, Yin Chujio, you are simply making trouble without reason. Hall Master, Yin Chujio is so rude. If we don't punish her, Where is the dignity of our divine devil hall? Before Palace Master Long could speak, Yin Chujio bowed deeply towards Vice General Sima. Great General Sima, can you help this junior with this favor and activate this jade talisman? Vice General Sima had the intention to reject, but when he saw Yin Chujio looking at him with an adoring and pleading gaze, he couldn't bear it. Moreover, he felt that it wasn't a big deal to activate it, so he didn't want to make her give up. Thinking of this, Deputy General Sima took the jade talisman. Palace Master Long and Qi Dong were about to stop him, but it was already too late. Deputy General Sima had already activated the jade talisman. Almost in an instant, Deputy General Sima let out a blood-curdling scream and threw the jade talisman in his hand out. Deputy General Sima's face was deathly pale, and there were even bean-sized beads of sweat dripping down his forehead. He pointed at the jade talisman that was still flickering in the distance and said, What the hell is this thing? It actually absorbed my spirit energy on its own. Without needing him to say anything, the others also realized that something was wrong. If that jade talisman was the material of the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Array, even if it couldn't gather spirit energy, it wouldn't cause harm to people. Deputy Chancellor Duanmu and Deputy Chancellor Mo's expressions immediately changed. The two of them picked up the 2 jade talisman seals and looked at them carefully. Very soon, their expressions turned extremely ugly. This was indeed not the material for the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Formation. To be exact, this was not the same as the 2 jade talisman seals that they had first examined. It was just that these talisman seals were too similar to the 2 jade talisman seals of the 8 Directions Spirit Gathering Formation at the very beginning. With a cold glance, there was no difference at all. However, if one took a closer look, one would discover that some of the patterns were completely different. Although they had never seen such talismans before, from Deputy General Sima's reaction, it seemed that once these talismans were activated, they would absorb the spiritual power of others. Deputy Chancellor Duanmu threw the jade talisman in his hand onto Palace Master Long's body. What else do you have to say? Your divine devil hall is really vicious. Are you planning to absorb all of our spiritual power? Palace Master Long's face revealed a perfect look of confusion and innocence. Where did this come from? Why would I absorb everyone's spirit energy? I'm not brainless. If I absorb everyone's spirit energy, how will my divine devil hall be able to establish itself in the divine enlightenment continent and the great firmament continent once everyone finds out? I remember now. Since I'm in a hurry, not all of the talismans here were drawn by the Chief Hall's talisman master. Some of them were purchased from other places. Perhaps something went wrong. Chapter 5438. Destroy the Jade Talisman. Seal. The people of the Divine Enlightenment Continent were skeptical of Palace Master Long's words. Indeed, the godly demon palace shouldn't have made such a foolish move, because once they were found out, they would become the target of everyone's attacks. Moreover, they didn't seem to feel any discomfort. Was it really just a misunderstanding? Palace Master Long continued. Everyone, this is the negligence of our godly demon palace. After I return to the main hall, I will naturally apologize and give everyone a satisfactory answer. The people of the Divine Enlightenment Continent understood that he meant that he would compensate them, so their expressions softened. After all, they had nothing to lose, so that was it. At this moment, Palace Master Long said apologetically to Yin Chujio, "Thank you, Miss Yin, for pointing out our God Demon Palace's negligence. I was wrong about you before. I'm sorry." Palace Master Long's words were full of sincerity and apology, so no one could find any fault with him. Yin Chujio did not expect Palace Master Long to be able to turn the matter over with just a few words. No wonder he was able to become a sub-palace master. He really had some ability. Yin Chujio saw the impatience on the faces of Master Wu Ben and the others, and swallowed back her original words. Instead she said, "Palace Master Long, I am easy to talk to. After all, I have only been scolded and suffered some grievances. But Deputy General Sima has been injured quite badly. Shouldn't you express something? Yin Chujio was very grateful towards Deputy General Sima. She didn't want him to have any animosity towards her because of this matter. So she said this. Palace Master Long hurriedly said, "Of course. After we return to the main hall, our Divine Devil Hall will definitely express our gratitude towards Deputy General Sima." Deputy General Sima had already taken a spirit replenishing pill, and his expression had recovered a little. To put it bluntly, a lot of his spirit energy had been absorbed just now, so it wasn't a big deal. He glared at Palace Master Long and didn't say anything. Yin Chujio continued, "Palace Master Long, since these jade talismans are harmful things, why don't we destroy them now?" Palace Master Long's face immediately stiffened. We still have to bring these jade talismans back to the main hall to find out the reason. It's not appropriate to destroy them now. Is it not appropriate or is it reluctant? Could it be that Palace Master Long still wants to use these talismans to scheme against others? Yin Chujio said with a cold smile. Deputy General Sima was originally not in a good mood, but seeing that Palace Master Long was like this, he immediately slapped the talismans on the ground. "Hold on." Palace Master Long's words were obviously of no use, and Deputy General Sima continued to slap the jade talismans. Those jade talismans were not very sturdy, and were almost instantly destroyed by Deputy General Sima's palm. Vice General Sima added another palm strike, turning the remaining jade talismans into powder. The vexation in Palace Master Long's eyes couldn't be hidden any longer, and Yin Chujio couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Although she didn't get the upper hand this time, she still wanted to make him feel uncomfortable. Palace Master Long tightened the hand under his sleeve, and only then did he suppress the vexation in his heart and say, "Forget it, let's just destroy it. Everyone, let's set off now." Master Wu Ben and the others nodded and left with Palace Master Long. As soon as Palace Master Long and the others from the Divine Enlightenment continent left, the others also left. The ancestors of the Lan family were no exception. They didn't want to stay in the territory of the Divine Devil Hall for too long. Yin Chujio was worried about the Gowei Batsao in the Four Seasons mountain range. So when she was halfway there, she covered her stomach and went into the woods nearby. She gave the control of her body to Gowei Batsao and asked it to tell her about the Four Seasons mountain range in a low voice. Chapter 54:39 Requirements of Gowei Batsao. Gowei Batsao waved its arms and told the whole story as soon as it took control of its body. After Yin Chujio left, Gowei Batsao first hid in the grass obediently, but soon it couldn't stay any longer. It was the first time it had saved so much money. It felt like it was going to be the richest in the world. If it did not show off, it would be letting down its conscience. Hence, this fellow decided to take a stroll. It had already been to Spring Dawn Peak, Midsummer Peak, Golden Autumn Peak, and Winter Peak. It was not interested, so it decided to take a stroll to Mustard Seed Peak next to Golden Autumn Peak. Just as this fellow was waving the grass leaves and flying happily, it heard a voice. The fellow quickly hid in the grass, feeling puzzled. Didn't everyone leave? Why was there still someone? He sneakily peeked and realized that it was the two purple-masked men from the Divine Demon Hall who were speaking. Although Gowei Batsao did not like to use his brain, he knew that there was a problem even if he used the leaves to think. Thus, the fellow carefully eavesdropped. "I reckon that the Great Firmament Territory meeting will be over soon. When the Jade Talisman seal is in our hands, we won't have to stand guard here anymore. I've really had enough of this Mustard Seed Peak's ever-changing weather. Yeah, I've had enough too. However, those people are really stupid." Even those people from the Divine Enlightenment continent didn't notice anything amiss. Our Hall Master's divine plan is ingenious, and he arranged it so meticulously. Of course they won't notice. Gowei Batsao immediately smelled a conspiracy. Not only was this guy not afraid, but he was also eager to try. What kind of bad idea were these people from the Divine Devil Hall? Just as it was wondering, two people came over to change shifts, so Gowei Batsao secretly followed behind the two people. Gowei Batsao soon understood why the two people said that the climate of Mustard Seed Peak was changeable. It was warm like spring just now, but now there were suddenly snowflakes. The two people walked to a stone wall and took out jade tokens to open the enchantment. Goei-Batsao quickly followed them in. It was surprised to find that there was a different world inside. It was actually very wide. Dozens of purple-masked people from the Divine Devil Temple were standing or sitting inside. When they saw the two people come in, someone asked, "Is Guardian Qi-Dong still not here? He should be here soon." Since the array disk is already running, it means that things are progressing very smoothly. We just need to put those jade talismans inside, and it will be done. Goei-Batsao was afraid of being discovered, so he did not dare to continue jumping forward. Therefore, he did not see what the so-called array board looked like. Of course, this fellow knew nothing about arrays. It did not make any difference whether he saw it or not. After listening to Goei-Ba's story, Yin Chujio was still quite puzzled. What kind of array formation did the Divine Devil Hall set up? Also, why did they need those jade talisman seals? It seemed that those jade talisman seals were not used to absorb spiritual power. What were they used to absorb? But no matter what, just destroy the array disk. Once and for all. Thus, Yin Chujio said to Goei-Batsao, "Find an opportunity to destroy the array disk. As long as you do this, I won't mistreat you." Goei-Batsao waved her arms and said, "Look at you, as if my grass is greedy. If I destroy the disk array, you don't have to spend too much. Just buy me 10 houses of herbs. Also in the future, as long as I want to come out, you can let me out. You are not allowed to disagree. Well, it would be even better if Xiao Mogu could accompany and serve me." Chapter 54 40 Formation Plate. After listening to Goei-Batsao, Yin Chujio said faintly, "Goei-Batsao, isn't it good to be alive?" Goei-Batsao wanted to blackmail her, but then she thought about it. This wretched girl was full of bad ideas. Even if she succeeded in blackmail now, she would dig a hole for her in the future. What should she do? While Goei-Batsao was struggling, Yin Chujio said, "I will soon ascend to the Divine Enlightenment continent. When that time comes, there will be many high-level medicinal herbs and pills. I won't mistreat you. As for your improper thoughts about Xiao Mogu, I don't support or oppose it. It all depends on Xiao Mogu's attitude." Goei-Batsao knew that Yin Chujio was taking a step back and giving it a way out. It immediately said, "I was joking just now. Since you said so, I will think of a way to destroy the disk array." Yin Chujio nodded and asked Goei-Batsao to return the control of her body to her. She cursed in her heart. This Goei-Batsao actually wanted Xiao Mogu. Didn't it think that its main body was in her dantian? Could it have brought Xiao Mogu into her dantian to settle down? On the other side, Goei-Batsao was hiding in a corner sneakily, waiting for an opportunity to destroy the disk array. However, it was really difficult. There were dozens of people from the Divine Devil Hall, and they were all purple-masked people. If it was not careful, it would be discovered, not to mention destroying the disk array. Goei-Batsao thought for a moment, and decided to lure the tiger away from the mountain. It sneaked to the entrance of the cave. Since the cave was not straight, the people inside could not see it immediately because their vision was blocked. Its body grew bigger, and it stretched out its grass leaf to whip at a protruding rock. Boom! The huge rock let out a huge cracking sound, immediately attracting the attention of the people inside. Goei-Batsao had already shrunk its body and stuck close to the top of the cave. While the people were checking the ground, it quickly flew to the depths of the cave. In the depths of the cave, there was a huge array plate. The runes on it were flickering with light. It was obvious that it was already in operation. Goei-Batsao was just about to think of a way to destroy the array plate when a loud noise came from outside. It quickly hid in a depression of the array plate. It was small in size, and with the flickering light of the runes, it wouldn't be discovered. "Protector Qi-Dong, did you come to deliver the jade talisman seal? Or did the temple master? And you have a brilliant plan. Those people from the Divine Enlightenment continent are being used by us. And we have to thank our divine demon temple." A purple-masked man asked in a fawning manner, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Is the disk array operating normally? Qi-dong said coldly, his tone filled with impatience and annoyance. The man didn't expect that the flattery would hit the horse's hooves. He said embarrassedly, "It's normal. Everything is normal. It's just that this big rock suddenly fell down and gave us a fright." Qi-dong looked at the broken rocks on the ground and didn't pay much attention to them. After all, there would occasionally be rocks falling off. Moreover, the people from the Divine Enlightenment continent and the Zen sect had already left. No one would come here. He walked up to the array disk and took a look. Seeing that it was functioning normally, he didn't look too closely. He said to the purple-masked men, "The Jade Talisman seal has been destroyed. The Hall Master will think of another way to remedy it. You guys stay here and guard it well. He won't mistreat you." The purple-masked men couldn't help but feel disappointed. They thought that they could get out, but now it seemed that they would have to stay here for a while. The purple-masked man who had spoken earlier relied on his courage to ask, "Protector Qi-dong, who destroyed the Jade Talisman seal?" Chapter 5441. Go Weiba has rendered meritorious service. Qi-dong gritted his teeth and said, "Although the Jade Talisman seal was destroyed by Deputy General Sima of the Iron Blood Alliance, it was single-handedly promoted by Yin Chujio. It's really detestable." Qi-dong briefly explained what had happened before, and the purple-masked men immediately started cursing. As for the target of their curses, it was naturally He Xinjiu. "All right, I still have other matters to attend to. All of you stay here well." Qi-dong gave a few more instructions before leaving. The purple-masked men cursed and swore again, but no one came over to check the formation plate. Goei Batsao did not act rashly. It was only a spirit energy clone, and it only had one chance. It had to hit the target with one strike. Therefore, they had to wait for a suitable opportunity. As time went by, the purple-masked man yawned one after another. They were certain that no one would discover this place, so they only left one person on night duty, while the others fell asleep. The person on night duty quickly fell asleep. Goei Batsao was immediately delighted. This was his chance. The disc array was very sturdy. It was easy to stop it, but if he wanted to destroy it, he had to think of a way. Goei Batsao had already figured out a way by using the day's time, and that was to commit suicide. Cough cough, it sounded a little tragic, but in fact, it was to release all of its spirit energy in an instant and apply it to the groove of the spirit stone. In this way, the formation leaves in the formation disk would self-destruct due to the surge of spirit energy. Goei Batsao felt that he was simply too smart. He had too much spirit of sacrifice. This fellow did as he was told and immediately, tragically committed suicide. The light on the formation disk suddenly shone brightly, and then with a loud bang, it exploded into countless pieces. The purple-masked men were awakened by the loud bang, and some were even injured by the fragments of the formation disk, instantly causing chaos. They did not even know what had happened. How did the formation plate suddenly explode? Could it be that the quality was not good? When Qi-dong received the news, he could not believe his ears. When he went to take a look during the day, it was still fine. Why did it suddenly explode? Those purple-masked men were afraid of taking responsibility. Naturally, they would not say that they were asleep. Moreover, they were certain that no outsiders had entered the cave, so the formation plate must have exploded on its own. Qi-dong personally went to the scene to check, but he did not find anything unusual. This matter had become an unsolved case, so he could only let it go. After Goei Batsao bravely sacrificed itself, it proudly claimed credit from Yin Chujio. Yin Chujio saw it proudly shaking its leaves and knew that it had succeeded. Taking advantage of the fact that others were not paying attention, she swallowed a handful of pills and fed it to Guai Chao. Then she praised, "Go Weiba, you've done well. You've done well this time." Guai Chao happily ate the pills with the leaves of the Guai Chao. It felt that it was about to reach the peak of Chao Sheng. After feeding the Guai Chao, Yin Chujio narrowed her eyes and pondered over the matter this time. Although she and Goei Batsao had already destroyed the conspiracy of the Divine Devil Hall, She didn't know what exactly the conspiracy was. Moreover, it involved people from the Divine Enlightenment continent, so it was even more confusing. She was certain that the Divine Devil Hall's goal was to kill Di Biming and nothing else, but now, she wasn't so sure. It was certain that the Divine Devil Hall wanted to kill Di Biming, but it didn't seem to be that simple. It was getting more and more complicated. Could it be related to the so-called Divine Devil race? Yun Chujio took out Di Biming's voice transmission talisman and wanted to tell him about the Ascension Talisman, but she couldn't send it successfully, so she had to give up. Chapter 5442 had another Ascendant Talisman. Yun Chujio put the voice transmission talisman back into her storage ring and took out the Ascendant Talisman to take a look. This thing had to be activated within a month. Even if she couldn't contact the Gigolo, she had to go to the Divine Enlightenment continent. Moreover, she felt that Di Biming, Xue Wuji, and the others should have already entered the Divine Enlightenment continent. Otherwise, the voice transmission talisman wouldn't have failed so often. Moreover, based on their strength, they should be able to ascend to the Divine Enlightenment continent. In fact, according to Yun Chujio's original plan, she didn't want to enter the Divine Enlightenment continent now. Firstly, she was still too weak, and secondly, the situation of the Great Firmament continent wasn't very clear yet. Fortunately, the Zen sect and the Bitter Zen sect had already formed an alliance. As long as Xian Hui didn't act rashly, she could contend with the Divine Devil Hall. As for the Qi family, Zhuang family and Mu family, they were just fence-sitters. They did not dare to act rashly. In the short term, there would not be any changes in the Chongshao continent. After the Lan family's flying spirit tool arrived at the imperial city, Yun Chujio was called to the ancestral residence by the Lan family's patriarch. Yun Chujio saw that the Lan family's patriarch's expression was quite serious, and she was puzzled. What did this old fox want to say to her? Was it about ascension? Little Jiao, I didn't expect you to really have the qualifications to ascend. In fact, even if you don't have the qualifications to ascend, I will still let you go to the Divine Enlightenment continent, said the Lan family's patriarch. Yun Chujio was stunned. Why did he say that he had a way to let her enter the Divine Enlightenment continent? This old fox still had this kind of ability? The patriarch seemed to have noticed Yun Chujio's doubt. With a move of his spiritual sense, an ascendant talisman appeared in his hand. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately widened. She moved closer to take a look. Although there were slight differences between the patterns on the ascendant talisman and hers, it seemed to be a real ascendant talisman. Your ascendant talisman must be activated within a month, but mine has no time limit. It can be activated at any time. The eyes of the patriarch of the Lan family had a hint of pride, but it quickly turned into disappointment. Yun Chujio was a little confused. Since this old fox had the ascension talisman, why didn't he ascend himself? Just as Yun Chujio was a little confused, the Lan family's ancestor asked, "Do you know why Demao brought you back?" Yun Chujio's eyes flashed, but she still decided to tell the truth. Great uncle brought me back mostly because of my grandmother's jade token. The Lan family's patriarch nodded and didn't ask about the whereabouts of the jade token. Instead, he sighed. It was because of that jade token that all of Demao's parents died. Yun Chujio was even more dumbfounded. That jade token was so important? Since it was so important, why did it fall into her grandmother's hands? After all, her grandmother was only a concubine daughter of the third wife. The Lan family's ancestor didn't seem to have any intention of explaining. He changed the topic and said, "Now you have two choices. One is the Ascension Talisman of the Divine Devil Hall, and the other is the Ascension Talisman in my hand. I don't need to say it. I think you also know that although the Ascension Talisman in your hand is real, the Divine Devil Hall probably did something to it. If you use it to ascend, there will definitely be a lot of trouble. The Ascending Talisman in my hand doesn't have that kind of trouble. However, if you want to take it away, you must help me do one thing." Yun Chujio sighed in her heart. Although there was some vague kinship between her and the old fox, they still used each other more. What did he want her to do? Chapter 5444. Past Events. What does the old ancestor want me to do? Yin Chujio asked with a faint smile. The old ancestor of the Lan family slowly spat out two words. Revenge. Who is the enemy? Yin Chujio did not ask what the hatred was, because it was obvious that it was the hatred of Lan Dimeo's father's generation. I don't know. Yin Chujio. The Lan family's ancestor let out a long sigh and said, at that time, there was a strange phenomenon in the Lianxing mountain range. Chengze and his brothers rushed over together out of curiosity, but they did not return for a long time. I was worried, so I brought people to search. The Lan family's ancestor seemed to be unable to continue speaking when he said this. The Chengze he mentioned was Lan Dimeo's father, Lan Chengze. The ancestor of the Lan family closed his eyes and paused for a moment before saying, I brought people to search for a few days. Other than finding some relics left behind by Chengze's two older brothers, we didn't find anything else. Just as he was about to give up, he found the heavily injured Chengze in an extremely hidden crack. His tongue had been cut off, his eyes had been pierced blind, his tendons and veins had been severed, and he had gone mad. The Lan family's ancestor clenched his hands tightly and continued. The crack was very deep, and Chengze was in that state back then. The murderer must have thought that he was dead for sure, so he didn't go down to the crack to kill him. It was also because Chengze didn't deserve to die. There was a small amount of spring water seeping out of the crack, and he relied on the spring water to survive until I rushed over. After I brought him back, I invited many famous doctors back. Although I reconnected his meridians, his hands and feet were still not very flexible. Moreover, he was still crazy. Most importantly, his body was already severely depleted. Even if I used the best spirit medicine to nourish him, he wouldn't have much time left. The Blue family's old ancestor's eyes were already red. His voice was also somewhat hoarse, but he still continued to say, Chengze loves your grandmother very much. Even though he's crazy, he still likes to have his little daughter accompany him. One time, when I went to see him, I saw your grandmother playing with a jade token in her hand. She wanted to take it over to have a look, but Chengze's reaction was very intense, so I had no choice but to give up. When Chengze died, he seemed to have regained some clarity. Although he couldn't speak, he still spent a lot of effort to write down some things on paper and pen. The old ancestor took out a piece of paper. Yin Chujio took it and looked at it. The handwriting on it was messy and crooked. Some of the words were even difficult to recognize. Yin Chujio thought that it was normal. Lan Chengze was blind, and his hands didn't listen to his commands. His mind wasn't very clear, so it was already good enough that he could write these words. Yin Chujio could barely recognize some of the messy handwriting. Among them, there were words like Divine Enlightenment Continent, Jade Token, and Destroyed. No wonder the old fox said that Lan Chengze and the others had lost their lives because of the Jade Token. After Chengze died, I didn't find the Jade Token. Your grandmother was only 4 years old at that time, and she didn't know the whereabouts of the Jade Token. I sent people to search the entire third room, but couldn't find the Jade Token, so I had to give up. I guessed that Chengze must have destroyed the Jade Token. At that time, the Qi Zhuang and Mu families took the opportunity to encroach on our power. They were in a terrible state, so this matter was temporarily put aside. The Lan family's ancestor recalled the past. His usually cold and hard face was filled with grief. He closed his eyes, and a row of muddy tears flowed down. He was not born cold-blooded and heartless. It was the pain of losing his son that forced him to become even colder. Otherwise, he would not have been able to hold the Lan family up until now. Chapter 5445. Lan Luchen's background. Yin Chujio looked at the Lan family's patriarch, whose body was slightly trembling, and comforted him. Patriarch, you have to look forward to everything. Don't be too sad. After a long while, the Lan family's patriarch calmed down and said, although I wanted to find the murderer of my son, the Lan family was pressed by the Qi family and the other two families. The situation was critical. For several years, I was exhausted and didn't have the energy to investigate this matter. After the situation stabilized, I started to investigate the matter. However, no one else knew about the matter, and there were very few clues. I had no choice but to form an alliance with the Divine Demon Hall. Firstly, I can gain a firm foothold, and secondly, I can take the opportunity to investigate some things in the Divine Enlightenment continent. Yun Chujio saw that the ancestor of the Lan family's voice was becoming more hoarse, so she stood up and handed him a cup of tea. Ancestor, there's no rush. Please have a sip of tea, and take a rest. The Lan family's patriarch sighed, took the cup of tea and took a few sips. Then he continued. The people of the Divine Demon Hall are quite tight-lipped. I used a lot of effort to find some clues. According to what they said, when Cheng Zhe and the others were in trouble, there were indeed many people from the Divine Enlightenment continent who came to the Lianxing mountain range. As for why they came, they didn't mention it. Therefore, the murderer of Cheng Zhe and the others must be someone from the Divine Enlightenment continent. You are naturally intelligent and have a sharp mind. As long as you start from that incident, you will definitely be able to find the murderer. Yin Chujio nodded. If she had gained a firm foothold in the Divine Enlightenment continent, it would not be too difficult to find out what had happened back then. However, she still had many questions, such as the Ascendant Talisman. Ancestor, where did you get the Ascension Amulet? The eyes of the Lan family's ancestor flickered. Although it was very subtle, it was still caught by Yin Chujio. This fellow pondered in his heart. There seemed to be something fishy going on here. The Lan family's ancestor seemed to hesitate for a moment before saying, Actually, I have 2 Ascension Amulets in my hand. One of them has already been given to Luochen. And the reason why I was able to obtain 2 Ascendant Talismans and a Passage Jade token was also because of Luochen. Yin Chujio was even more dumbfounded now. Fortunately, the Lan family's ancestor explained, Ever since you arrived at the Lan family, you haven't heard of Luchen's parents, right? Don't you think it's a little strange? Yin Chujio thought about it, and it was true. She had never heard of Lan Luchen's parents, nor had anyone mentioned why Lan Luochen had arrived at the Tianyuan continent back then. The Lan family's ancestor laughed bitterly. It's funny. I don't even know who Lan Luchen's mother is. Back then his father only brought him back. No matter how much I interrogated him, he didn't tell me who the child's mother was. Later on his father took him away from the Lan family. I was very angry at that time, so I didn't ask anyone to look for him. When I wanted to look for him, he was nowhere to be found. Until a few years ago, a mysterious person came to see me and said that he was from his maternal grandfather's family. He asked me to go to the Tianyuan continent to bring Luochen back and groom him. He even gave me 2 Ascendant Talismans and 2 Passage Jade tokens. One of them was used as a reward, and the other one was kept for Luochen. Yin Chujio didn't expect Lan Luochen to have such a background. He was really pitiful. However, pitiful people must have their detestable aspects. It was better not to have any interactions in the future. Therefore, she did not want to use the old fox's Ascension Talisman. She did not want to have any interactions with land dregs. Chapter 5446 Ascending Amulet also had a level the Lan family's ancestors' eyes flashed. He had obviously guessed Yin Chujio's thoughts. He said, You don't have to worry because the Ascending Amulet and Luochen have a connection, because the 2 Ascending Amulets are different. You might not know this, but the Ascending Amulet also has a level. The one I gave you, and the one the Divine Devil Hall gave you are both the lowest grade Ascending Amulets, while the one Luochen has is much higher grade than yours. Yin Chujio. What the hell? There are different levels to the Ascendant Talisman. Would a low-level Ascendant Talisman die halfway through flight? Yin Chujio explained her question, and the Lan family's ancestor couldn't help but laugh at her. It actually lightened his previous sadness a little. To be honest, he really didn't want to let this little girl leave, but even if he didn't let her help him take revenge, she would sooner or later soar into the sky, and he wouldn't be able to keep her. I'm not too sure, But I've heard some things from the people of the godly demon palace. The difference of the Ascender Talisman is that the place you go to after activating the Ascender Talisman is different. After the lowest level Ascender Talisman like you arrives at the Divine Enlightenment continent, you should enter a place similar to a test. If you pass, your identity in the Divine Enlightenment continent will be officially confirmed, and if you fail, you will be punished. The Ascender Talisman in Luo Chen's hand will be directly sent to the Alliance of 10,000 cities on the Divine Enlightenment continent, and you will be officially recognized on the Divine Enlightenment continent. The Lan family's ancestor was also a bit uncertain. After all, he had never been to the Divine Enlightenment continent, so he had only heard about it. Yin Chujio. Did he have to treat her so differently? She felt that something was wrong. Other people must have reached the peak of the 9th level of spirit destruction to ascend, but she was only at the peak of the 6th level of spirit destruction. There was a high chance that she would not pass the assessment, so wouldn't she be punished? She thought for a moment. Anyway, there was no time limit for the Ascension Talisman in the old fox's hand. She would wait until she reached the 9th level of Spirit Extinguisher, or at the very least, the 8th level of Spirit Extinguisher before ascending. The ancestor of the Lan family was very shrewd. He immediately guessed her thoughts and said, "If you don't ascend within a month, the Divine Devil Hall will definitely sense it, and they might take the opportunity to make another scheme. If you delay, things will change. Why don't you use the Ascending Talisman I gave you instead of Li Zombie? You might be able to successfully cheat your way through." Yin Chujio said in confusion. "Old ancestor, everyone in the Divine Devil Hall knows me. Even if I use your Ascending Talisman to the so-called assessment place, won't I still be tricked?" "You don't know that. I heard from the Divine Devil Hall that the assessment place is filled with people from the Myriad City Alliance. The Divine Devil Hall doesn't dare to interfere rashly. Therefore, I feel that the Divine Devil Hall can only bribe 1 or 2 people to target you at most. Moreover, in order to prevent fraud for personal gain, the assessment area only has a number for all those who ascend, and the number is generated based on the Ascendance Talisman. Don't you have a pill that can change your appearance? At that time, you only need to change your appearance. Once the assessment is over, you will be able to restore your appearance." Yin Chujio snorted coldly in her heart. This old fox must have planned it out long ago. Otherwise, he wouldn't have even thought of changing his appearance. However, what he said seemed to make sense. If it was too late, things would change. It was better to ascend as soon as possible. Yin Chujio calculated the days. In 2 days, Mount Meru would be struck by lightning. If she could be struck by lightning, perhaps her cultivation base would rise. Thinking of this, she said, "Ancestor, I promise you, after I ascend to the Divine Enlightenment continent, I will find the murderer." Chapter 5447. The masked elder, the ancestor of the Lan family, didn't look too surprised. Apparently, he had expected Yin Chujio to agree. He nodded. "That's good. Luo Chen's ancestor's family should be quite powerful. That mysterious person gave me a jade talisman, besides the Ascendance Talisman. If you encounter danger in the Divine Enlightenment continent, someone will come to rescue you after you activate this jade talisman. Take it with you." Yin Chujio didn't want to have anything to do with Lan Luochen, so she didn't take the jade talisman seal. She said, "Forefather, you should keep this jade talisman seal. I don't need it." Seeing her determined attitude, the Lan family's forefather had to give up. He looked at the paper with messy handwriting on the table and thought of something. He frowned and said, "Oh right, when we found Chengza, the blood he spat out contained a lethal poison. It was very corrosive. According to the famous doctor later, if it wasn't for the spring water that Chengza used to prolong his life accidentally diluted a part of the poison, Chengza would have died a long time ago. Unfortunately later, I sent people to get some of the spring water, but the crack no longer exists." At this point, the ancestor of the Lan family, he took out a piece of paper. This is some of the ingredients that the famous doctor analyzed from it. Although there are many people who know how to use poison, it is still a clue. You should also be careful so that you don't fall for it. The Gui Chao and Yin Chujia's dantian shook its leaves. As long as it was there any poison in this world that could kill the smelly girl? It didn't exist at all. Yin Chujio ignored the arrogant Gowei Batsao and took the piece of paper. Then, she nodded to show that she understood. Yin Chujio remembered Hong Ling, Lung Yin, and the others. She proposed a few conditions, and the ancestor of the Lan family agreed without any hesitation. The two of them chatted for a while more, and Yin Chujio got up to leave. After Yin Chujio left, the old man wearing a mask walked out of the secret room. Master, why don't you ask Yin Chujio if she knows the whereabouts of the jade plate? So what if I do? Even if she has it, do you think she will tell me? Besides, I'm not interested in the jade plate. I just want to find the murderer. The Lan family's patriarch said with some disappointment. The masked elder comforted him. Yin Chujio is smart and smart. She will definitely find the murderer and help you take revenge. After a long time, the Lan family's ancestor said, I hope so. He didn't know whether it was right or wrong to do this. Although the little girl would go to the divine enlightenment continent sooner or later without his help, he still felt a little disappointed and guilty. The masked old man seemed to have read the mind of the Lan family's patriarch. He pondered for a moment and said, Master, Yin Chujia's fiancée is the sworn enemy of the divine devil hall. She is destined to go through storms. Even without your help, she will go to the divine enlightenment continent sooner or later. The Lan family's patriarch nodded and said tiredly, Now that the Zen sect and the bitter Zen sect have formed an alliance, they will be in a state of balance for a short time. There won't be any big waves. You can go into seclusion and cultivate for the time being. The masked old man nodded and bowed in agreement. Then, he entered the secret chamber and left. The patriarch of the Lan family sighed slightly when he saw the door of the secret chamber slowly closing. The reason why the masked old man had been wearing the mask was that he had spat out a mouthful of poisonous blood when he saved Lan Qingzi. The poisonous blood had sprayed onto the masked old man's face. Although it didn't hurt his eyes, it had corroded his face and made it so deep that his bones could be seen. Even though he was treated and grew back his skin and flesh, he was still very ferocious. The masked old man had been wearing a mask ever since. The book review section has Little 9 and a certain senior's Q version. Everyone can go take a look and ask for a monthly pass. Moi moi. Chapter 5448 Ascension Yin Chujio did not return to the Lan family's third house after leaving the ancestral residence. Instead, she went to the courtyard where Lung Yin's guards were. Lung Yin and the others also went to the Great Firmament Feast. Naturally, they knew that Yin Chujio had obtained the Ascension Talisman. Their hearts were very complicated. On one hand, they were naturally happy for their master, but on the other hand, they were worried about their future. Once Yin Chujio left, they would be leaderless. They would probably be sent back to the Lan family camp. Even if they used their heels to think, they would be ostracized when they went back, let alone rise up. Some of them were slightly regretful. If they knew this would happen, they would have stayed in the Lan family camp. After Yin Chujio saw everyone, she went straight to the point. Everyone, I didn't expect that I would rise up so quickly. But you are my people, so I will naturally not mistreat you. I was afraid that you would be ostracized if you returned to the Lan family's camp. So I discussed with my ancestor. In the future, when you return to Elder Tua's command, he will train you to become the elites of the Lan family's guards. In addition, your salaries and resources will be the same as before. There won't be any changes. Of course, if anyone wants to return to the Lan family's camp, that's fine too. I will ask Elder Tua to warn Juchen. He won't dare to act rashly. You guys decide what to do. Lung Yin and the others were ecstatic. Was there a need to decide? Even a fool would know to choose the first option. Following old Tua, they would definitely be stronger than those people from the Lan family's camp. After Yin Chujio arranged for Lung Yin and the others, she returned to the Lan family's third branch. Hong Ling and the others had also heard about Yin Chujia's ascension. They were happy but also a little sad. Especially Hong Ling. Even though she had used makeup to cover her eyes, it was still visible that her eyes were a little red and swollen. Yin Chujio called the three of them to her. I have already made an agreement with the old ancestor. After I leave, you will go to the ancestral residence to work. Housekeeper Su will not mistreat you. After Yin Chujio had made the arrangements, she also gave them a lot of spirit stones and pills. The three of them were naturally grateful. When Yin Chujio and Hong Ling were alone in the house, Yin Chujio gave Hong Ling a lot of good things. Miss, this servant can't bear to part with you. Hong Ling couldn't help but cry. Yin Chujio was also a little sad, but there was nothing she could do. She was not strong enough now. Even if she wanted to take Hong Ling with her, she was powerless. She thought of Lung Yun's stuttering pleas in the afternoon and smiled. Hong Ling, what do you think of Lung Yun? Hong Ling was stunned. She did not know why Yin Chujio asked this question. She casually said, not only is Chief Lung's cultivation level very high, but he is also very kind. He has helped me a few times. Miss, why are you suddenly asking about this? Yin Chujio said a little mischievously. Because he has taken a fancy to you. This afternoon, he specially begged me to agree to marry you to him. Hong Ling's face suddenly turned red. No wonder she met Lung Yin every time she went out to work for Miss. It turned out that he actually. Yin Chujio saw that Hong Ling was in a daze, and immediately knew that this marriage was most likely successful. Marriage is not a child's play. You definitely need time to think about it. But don't worry, I will tell housekeeper Su. If you are willing, he will help you take care of everything. Hong Ling replied with a red face. She thought about how Yin Chujio was about to leave, but she became sad again. Miss, when do you plan to ascend? It depends on when the thunder is on Mount Meru, Yin Chujio said slowly. Chapter 54-49. Ascending to Heaven. Hong Ling knew that her young miss liked to run to Mount Meru when there was thunder, so she was not surprised. She was busy preparing the things that Yin Chujio needed to bring for her ascension. Hong Ling knew that her young miss was a foodie, so most of the things she prepared were food. Yin Chujio was also happy to be free. She just waited and waited. Seeing that the 1-month deadline was up in Mount Meru, did not have any intention to send down heavenly thunder. She had no choice but to give up. These few days, she had already bid farewell to Sect Master Wu, Sect Master Xian Hui, Qing Si, and the others with voice transmission talismans, so she did not have anything else to do. It was just that she had not been able to contact Di Baiming, Xue Wuji, and the others, which made her somewhat depressed. Early in the morning, under the watchful eyes of the Lan family members, Yin Chujio activated the Ascension Talisman in her hand. After the Ascension Talisman in Yin Chujio's hand was activated, the sound of celestial music immediately sounded. Everyone could even see that there were illusory flowers blooming around Yin Chujio, and then Yin Chujio's figure disappeared in front of them. Everyone was naturally envious of this, but many people could not help but feel a little disappointed. Little Jiu had left just like that? They really could not bear to part with her. On the other side, Hei Xinjia's eyes were filled with a blinding white light. She had no choice but to close her eyes and swallow the appearance-changing pill that she had hidden in her hand. She could feel the whistling of the wind around her. She pondered in her heart. This Ascension Talisman was rather interesting. It was almost similar to a teleportation array. This fellow's heart skipped a beat. In the future, she could modify the Ascending Talisman to teleport. Wouldn't it be a sharp weapon for escaping? If she succeeded in developing it, she would be able to see the pretty boy in a flash if she wanted to. It was simply wonderful. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. She no longer felt that this long ascending process was boring. After a full 2 days, the sound of the wind by her ears began to weaken. Yin Chujio knew that she should be landing soon. In order to be safe, this fellow activated the spiritual energy shield, and even activated the defensive spiritual artifact, that he had collected from the Lan family's ancestors, Master Wu, and the others. It was better to be safe than sorry. This fellow had always kept this in mind. A moment later, Yin Chujio was violently thrown out. The huge impact force and extremely fast speed made it impossible for people to react in time. Fortunately, this fellow was already prepared. Although he fell to the ground, because he was prepared, he did not fall in pain. TSK, this pig is really smart. She actually prepared in advance, which made us lose a lot of fun. Her cultivation level is too low, isn't it? How did she ascend? I guess she used the back door again. I've seen this kind of thing many times. She's so stupid. Even if she used the back door to get the Ascension Talisman, she would not be able to get away with it in our heavenly dock. In the end, she still ended up in such a miserable state. I really don't know what she's after. Yin Chujio listened to the conversation of these people very clearly. She suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart. From the conversation of these people, she could obtain a few pieces of information. Firstly, the attitude of the people in the heavenly dock towards these people who had just ascended was extremely bad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have called them pigs. Secondly, the test in the heavenly dock must be very strict. What made this guy uncertain the most was the miserable end that the person said. Could it be that if he didn't pass the assessment, he would be severely punished? While Yin Chujio was pondering in her heart, she heard someone say impatiently, "What are you still lying there for? Hurry up and register." Yin Chujio silently recited Xiaojiu's 10 years of revenge. Only then did she get up and look around with fear and trepidation. Chapter 5450. The scene that Yin Chujio saw was completely different from what she had expected. She thought that the so-called sky-reaching dock must be a fairyland where birds chirped and flowers were fragrant. She did not expect to see an ordinary small square. In front of the square was a pitch-black door with the words "Sky-reaching dock" written on the plaque. There were a few people sitting or standing in front of her, and there was a long table in front of the two people who were sitting. It should be the registration place. Yin Chujio walked to the table and took out the Ascendant Talisman and the Passage Jade token that had no lines on it. She respectfully handed them to a guard. The guard looked at the serial number on the back of the Ascendant Talisman, pursed his lips, and then looked at Yin Chujio. He said, "Where's the binding talisman?" Yin Chujio was at a loss. Binding talisman? There was still money to be paid here? The guard saw Yin Chujio's stunned look and said impatiently, "Are you deaf or mute? I'm asking you, where's the binding talisman?" Yin Chujio suppressed the anger in her heart and asked timidly, "May I ask what the binding talisman means?" The guard rolled his eyes and said with a disdainful look, "You're really a pig. You have a pig's brain, right? What does the binding talisman mean? Of course it's spirit stones." Yin Chujio suddenly understood and said, "So it's spirit stones. How many spirit stones does that bundle require? My family used all the spirit stones to exchange for the Ascension Talisman. I am very poor." The guard looked at Yin Chujio with even more disdain. "Pay as much as you can. I have seen many idiots like you. In the end, you either died or were punished to do hard labor. You are really stupid." "Sir, do you mean that if you fail the test, you'll be killed or punished to do hard labor?" Yin Chujio asked in horror. "What? Do you regret it? It's useless even if you regret it. Don't dawdle, hurry up and pay the money. Otherwise, it'll throw you directly into hard labor." Yin Chujio didn't know the market situation here, so she didn't know how many spirit stones she should pay. If she took too much at once, not only would she suffer a loss, she would also be coveted by others. This was like a 3-year-old child carrying gold through the market. It was simply digging a hole for herself. Just when she was a little hesitant, people who had just ascended arrived one after another. The guard said impatiently, "Since you don't have the bundle, then scram to the side. Don't get in the way here." Yin Chujio just happened to want to see the level of the bundle, so she retreated to the side. Yin Chujio quickly discovered that the attitude of the guards was basically determined by the number on the ascending talisman. Of course, there were also some who used the method of throwing spirit stones to counterattack. However, weren't there too many people ascending? Why did it seem like dumplings were being dropped? Where did so many people come from? She quickly solved her doubts. The highest target of ascension in the 3,000 continents was the Divine Inspiration continent, so it was not surprising that there were many people. Yun Chujio quickly figured out the scope of the bundle, picked a level that was neither high nor low, and handed over the bundle. She did not feel sorry for the money, because she found that the two people who registered did not have much power. They just registered and let them pass. Money had to be spent on the blade. She was not a sucker. When the guard saw that she handed over the bundle, his attitude softened a little, but it was still very bad. The guard injected some information into her jade token, and then said with disdain, "Go in. You will suffer in the future. You are really asking for trouble. Why did you come to the ascending heaven dock to suffer?" Yun Chujio pretended not to hear these unpleasant words. She took the jade token, and followed the other ascenders into the ascending heaven dock. Chapter 54-51. Quenching Workshop. Most of the people who had just ascended did not know each other. Even so, a lot of people started chatting in a short period of time. They were not familiar with the place, so it was always good to have an ally. Hei Shinjio was more embarrassed. The others saw that her cultivation was low and she looked very poor, so no one paid attention to her. Yun Chujio did not care about this at all. Outstanding people were all lonely. Yes, that was it. After everyone entered the heavenly dock, someone immediately berated. "Do you have any rules? Follow the instructions on the sign, and stand properly. All of you be quiet. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Only then did Yun Chujio realize that there were a few wooden signs in front of them, with different spiritual roots written on them. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Since she wanted to pass the test, she naturally couldn't reveal that she had a thunder spiritual root, so she could disguise herself as a fire spiritual root. Thus, she secretly stood in the line of fire spiritual roots. However, after everyone lined up, there were no further instructions. They didn't dare to make a sound, and could only wait patiently. They waited until sunset before someone brought them to different areas. Yun Chujio followed the fire spirit root team to the quenching workshop. A person who looked like a manager sized them up and said arrogantly, "My surname is Bai. You can call me Manager Bi from now on. Since you're already here, it means that your qualifications are average, and you don't have much to rely on. So be sensible. Don't think that you're people of the Divine Enlightenment continent just because you've obtained the Heaven Ascension Talisman. You have one test every 3 months, and each person has 3 chances. If you can't pass, then you can only go to the cold wilderness mine to do hard labor." At this time, someone mustered up his courage and asked, "Manager Bai, what's the content of the test?" The manager wanted to flare up, but seeing that person's cold face, he said, "The test is simple and clear. As long as you reach the first level of the Divine Enlightenment, you'll pass." Many people immediately heaved a sigh of relief. It was not too difficult for them to reach the first level of the Divine Enlightenment, after breaking through to the peak of the 9th level of the Spirit Extinguisher realm. Hei Shinjio felt like she was barking a dog in her heart. It was not difficult for others, but it was too damn difficult for her. Unless she could receive 2 lightning strikes during the assessment period, she would be able to reach the first level of the Divine Enlightenment. However, would there be lightning strikes in this ascending heaven dock? Even if there were lightning strikes, how could she not attract the attention of others and absorb the lightning? Do you guys think that this assessment is easy to pass? How naive. Although the peak of the 9th layer of the Spirit Extinguisher realm is the first layer of the Divine Revelation realm, only those blessed by God can successfully break through. Some people will never be able to overcome this hurdle in their entire lives. To tell you the truth, at most, only half of the people can pass the assessment, and most of them barely pass the 3rd assessment. Everyone was obviously frightened by Manager Bi's words, and all of them looked nervous. Manager Bi was very satisfied to see everyone's frightened and worried look, and continued to say, "Don't think that you only need to cultivate when you arrive at the soaring dock. Our place is not a benevolent hall. You can only arrange your own time, after you complete the required work. If you can't complete it, then follow the rules. If the executioner doesn't care about the severity of the punishment and accidentally kills the person, that's a common occurrence. So be smart. Manager Biss' words made everyone even more fearful and uneasy. Some people even faintly regretted it. If they had known it would be like this, they would rather not ascend. Their cultivation could be said to be at the top level in the lower continent. Why would they come here to be bullied? Chapter 54-52. Why did he want to ascend immediately? Someone said with a trembling voice. Manager Bai, can I go back to the original continent? I don't want to ascend anymore. Manager Bai's expression didn't change much as he asked. You want to go back to the original continent? Seeing that Manager Biss' tone didn't change much, that person immediately became bolder and nodded. Yes, I don't want to stay in the Divine Enlightenment continent anymore. I want to go back. Manager Bai nodded. Since you want to go back, then go back. Someone sent him back. Immediately, several guards walked up to the man. The man was delighted and was about to thank Manager Bai, but the guards stopped him at the same time. The man was frightened and confused. What's going on? Manager Bai sneered. Don't you want to go back? Then I'll send you back completely. Do it. Almost as soon as Manager Bai finished his words, that person didn't even have the time to scream before his body fell to the ground. This change obviously scared everyone present. Many people's faces changed drastically and even started to tremble. See, this is the result of having a weak Tao heart. You tell me, why do you want to ascend? Manager Bai pointed at a random person. That person said with a trembling voice. For the great Tao, to obtain a higher cultivation base. When the cultivation base of the lower continent reaches a certain level, it will be shackled, and it will be unable to continue to raise the cultivation base. Manager Bai nodded. That's right. You can stay in the lower continent and do whatever you want. But why do you want to ascend to the Divine Enlightenment continent? Because you want to become stronger. Because you want to extend your lifespan. So there's no way out. Once you choose to ascend, there is no way out, so don't take any chances. Do you see the notice board next to it? It says the rules of the Ascending Heaven Dock and the Quenching Fire Workshop. Open your eyes and look carefully. Don't cry for your parents when you commit a crime. It's useless. After Manager Bai finished speaking, he asked everyone to hand over the past jade token in their hands. Then they engraved a number on it. This number would be their identity in the future. Yun Chujio took the jade pass and looked at it. There was a symbol of a flame on it. Behind the flame, there were two big words, Chojio. Yun Chujio. Who gave her the number? Come out. She promised not to beat him to death. Damn it. Who are you calling ugly? However, when this guy saw the other people's jade passes, he immediately understood that the number was arranged according to the heaven and earth branches. Therefore, he could only say that she was unlucky. Look for your residences according to the numbers on your jade plates. Come and gather at midnight tomorrow. Everyone quickly agreed and squeezed in front of the notice board to look carefully. They were afraid that they would accidentally offend any of the rules in the future, and their lives would be forfeited. Yun Chujio glanced at the contents of the notice board and memorized it. She cursed in her heart. The rules here were too strict. It was no different from being in prison. She did not know what the so-called job was. Forget it. Finding a place to live was more important. There were many rules on the notice board. There was also a floor plan of the entire Ascending Heaven Dock. Yun Chujio followed the signs and found the dormitory area of the Quenching Workshop. When she arrived at the so-called dormitory area, Yun Chujio's heart was like a dog that was complaining. There were 20 people living in a room, but there was only one bed. Obviously, only one person had the right to live on the bed. The others could only sleep on the floor. When Yun Chujio entered the room was already full of people, and the way they looked at her was very unfriendly. The reason was very simple. The space in the room was limited, and the more people who lived in the room, the more crowded it was. Chapter 54-53. Shen Wu Yin Chujio cursed in her heart. She thought that she was willing to live in the house. If it wasn't for the notice board stating that it was forbidden to sleep outdoors, she would rather set up a tent outside than live in such an environment. Just as Yin Chujio was cursing in her heart, another person walked in. It was two young women who came in. The two of them were stunned when they saw the situation in the house. The woman with almond eyes said with disdain, "Is this a place where people live? How can we sleep with so many people?" The other woman quickly said, "Liani, lower your voice. If the guards hear you, they might be punished." As soon as she said that, the middle-aged woman sitting on the bed snorted coldly. "How dare you? Don't you know that this place can only be called by numbers? Besides, since they had entered the heavenly dock, they shouldn't put on airs. Everyone was the same. Who was more noble than who? You three newcomers, listen up. I'll leave the hygiene of this room to you until the next batch of newcomers arrive. Do you understand?" Yin Chujio glanced at the number of the jade plate on the middle-aged woman's waist. She thought that the number of the jade plate shouldn't be arranged along the bottom line. Instead, the number should be used according to the number that was left empty. Otherwise, according to the arrangement of the branches of heaven and earth. This Chunlu should not be lower than her Chojio. The almond-shaped eye that spoke earlier was obviously not convinced, but it was stopped by the woman next to her. Yin Chujio glanced at the almond-shaped eye and the jade token of the woman next to her. One was Shenwu, and the other was Wei Ba. Chunlu saw that Shenwu did not say anything else. She snorted coldly and did not say anything else. Shenwu was so angry that she gritted her teeth. If it was not for Wei Ba who kept stopping her, she would definitely have argued with Chunlu. Shenwu saw that Yin Chujio's dark eyes were looking at him, so she shouted unhappily, "What are you looking at? You look as ugly as your name." Yin Chujio. After Shenwu finished shouting, Yin Chujio felt a little better. She pulled Wei Ba to the innermost part of the house, probably because she wanted to sleep there. It was much quieter there compared to other places, and it was indeed better than other places. Unfortunately, just as the two of them reached there, they were stopped by a burly woman. "This is my territory, get lost." Shenwu was about to fly into a rage, but she did not know what Wei Ba had given the burly woman. The burly woman grinned and said, "You're quite smart. I'll let you guys have this place." Shenwu grumbled a little, and then began to tidy up the floor with Wei Ba. Yin Chujio, on the other hand, chose a floor near the door indifferently. This was the worst spot, and the wind was strong and noisy. The others did not say anything when they saw that she was sensible. Yin Chujio lay on the floor for a while. She felt a little hungry, and took out a meat bun to eat. The fragrance of the meat bun instantly filled the room. Many people subconsciously sniffed, especially the burly woman, Ding Er, who was staring at the meat bun in Yin Chujio's hand. Yin Chujio was a little scared by her stare. She wondered why these people acted like they had never eaten a meat bun before. Yin Chujio felt that something was wrong, so she quickly ate the meat bun in her hand, afraid that something would happen. At this moment, Shenwu curled his lips and said, "Isn't it just meat buns? Look at the way some people are craving them. It's really embarrassing." Wei Ba, who was beside her, was speechless. Chapter 54-54. The beautiful day began. Wei Ba directly used steamed buns to block Shenwu's mouth, so that she wouldn't get into trouble. However, it was already too late. With Ding Er as the leader, more than 10 women surrounded Shenwu and Wei Ba in the middle. "Little bitch, who are you calling a disgrace? If it wasn't for the fact that you were tactful, I wouldn't have given up my position to you. Looks like you need to be taught a lesson," Ding Er said fiercely. Shenwu was obviously a person who didn't lose out to others. She shouted, "What? Did I say something wrong? Isn't it just a meat bun? Look at your greedy faces." Ding Er reached out and grabbed Shenwu's clothes. "Say that again." Shenwu tried her best to struggle free, but the thick and strong woman's hands were like pincers. She couldn't break free at all. Wei Ba, who was beside her, sighed in her heart and said, "Sisters, please calm down. Shenwu's brain is not very bright, so she often talks nonsense. I'll apologize on her behalf." Take these buns and divide them among yourselves. Treat it as a small token of our appreciation. Wei Ba said as she took out a big food box. It was filled with meat buns with thin skin and big stuffing. Dinger let go of Shen Wu and took the food box. Then he said, I've changed my mind. You guys move to the door now. Otherwise HMPH. Shen Wu was so angry that her face turned red. But fortunately, she finally understood the principle that a small arm could not beat a thigh. She gritted her teeth and moved the luggage to Yin Chujia's side with Wei Ba. Shen Wu felt that all of this was caused by Yin Chujio eating meat buns, so she glared at her fiercely. Move aside. Move aside. Don't you have eyes? Yin Chujio did not care at all. She dragged her luggage to the door to make room. Shen Wu saw that Yin Chujio was so obedient and curled her lips. She felt much better. After all, there was still a weakling who was even more pitiful than them. At this moment, Dinger handed the big food box to Chen Lu. Chen Lu gave Dinger 5 steamed buns and kept the rest in her storage ring. The others looked on eagerly, but no one dared to raise any objections. Seeing this, Yin Chujio immediately understood the status of everyone in the room. Chen Lu had the absolute right to speak, and everyone else had to listen to her orders. This guy immediately set a small goal for himself, to kill Chen Lu and replace her. Of course, she was new here, so she couldn't act rashly for the time being. She could take it slow, and there was no rush. Shen Wu suddenly saw a hint of a sinister smile on Yin Chujio's lips, and he was so scared that he shivered. When he looked again, he found that Yin Chujio had already returned to her cowardly appearance. Humph! It was impossible for a weak person at the 6th level of Spirit Extinguisher to have such a sinister smile. She must have seen it wrong. After all this, the sky had completely darkened. There was no light source in the room, only the moonlight that came in through the narrow window. Shen Wu's stifled sobs came from beside her. Yin Chujio found it funny in her heart. She thought that this Shen Wu was very arrogant, but it turned out that he was just a paper tiger. Although she was very surprised by the situation in Ascending Heaven Dock, she had always been getting stronger and stronger. Not only did she not feel depressed, but she was also eager to give it a try. Most importantly, she felt that Yin Qi must be in the Divine Qi continent. When she thought of meeting Yin Qi, she did not care about any difficulties. Under Shen Wu's stifled sobs, Yin Chujio quickly fell asleep. The next morning, before Yin Chujio could wake up, she was woken up by the noise of the others. She curled her lips. A beautiful day had begun. Chapter 54-55. Dining Hall. Shen Wu, who had a pair of red and swollen eyes, saw that Yin Chujio was actually showing that sinister expression again. She immediately shivered. When she took a closer look, she found that Yin Chujio was still the same weak appearance. She shook her head. She must have not slept well last night, so she saw wrongly. Everyone went out to wash up. It was really too crowded in the room, so there was no way to wash up. Yin Chujio found a row of sinks in front of the dormitory yesterday. It was probably the place to wash up. As expected, she saw Chen Lu and the others washing up at the sink when she came out of the room. However, due to the limited space of the sink, many people could only wait at the back. Shen Wu saw her slow appearance and snorted. You really can hold your temper? Aren't you afraid that you won't have time to wash up? The corner of Yin Chujio's lips curled up slightly, and then she said indifferently, You came out earlier than me, but you're also ranked last? Shen Wu. She and Wei Ba came out very early, but because they were ostracized by those people, they were forcefully pushed to the end. Shen Wu glared at Yin Chujio angrily, and then she opened her mouth and squeezed out 3 words. Ugly monster. Yin Chujio. Even though she was not very beautiful in her disguise, she could still be considered a delicate beauty. Was Shen Wu blind? After a while, it was finally their turn to wash up. Before they finished washing up, they saw that Chen Lu and the others had already lined up and were ready to set off. Yin Chujio rolled her eyes and hurriedly followed. Wei Ba also dragged Shen Wu and chased after them. Shen Wu complained, I haven't finished washing up yet. Why are you in such a hurry? Wei Ba explained in a low voice, They have already lined up. If we don't follow them, we will definitely be punished. Shenwu also reacted after hearing Wei Ba's words. He glared at the people in front of him with hatred, and did not say a word. Yun Chujio thought to herself, it was all thanks to Wei Ba helping Shenwu. Otherwise, she would have died many times over. Yun Chujio quickly saw the teams from the other dormitories. They were all lined up neatly. Yun Chujio realized that the people from the other dormitories did not seem to be on good terms with each other. All of them had cold expressions on their faces. Could it be that there was competition between the dormitories? Yun Chujio was puzzled as she followed the team to the canteen. As Chun Lu and the rest sat in the designated seats, there was a sign on the table with the words, Group 9 written on it. Yun Chujio noticed that there was the same sign on the other tables, indicating the group. When Yun Chujio was looking around, the door of the canteen closed with a bang. She could vaguely hear the guards outside sneering. Eat. All of you who have left the team will be punished with a cane. Since you are new here, each of you will receive a cane. Shenwu could not help but shiver. If Wei Ba had not dragged her to catch up with the team, she would have been among the ones who were punished. Wei Ba looked at Yun Chujio without batting an eyelid. She was surprised. This Chojio looked very weak, but sometimes people could not see through her. If she had not reacted and caught up with the team just now, she would not have thought of this. At this moment, the sound of a bell ringing rang from the rice window. Dinger immediately stood up and rushed to the rice window. Seeing that the others did not move, Yun Chujio thought, looks like each group only needs one person to fetch the rice. Dinger came back very quickly and left in a hurry. Yun Chujio's heart moved. It seemed that there was a limit to the meal time. Otherwise, Dinger would not be in such a hurry. Chapter 54-56. Punishment with a cane. Dinger placed the breakfast on the table. There was only a basin of porridge, a basin of steamed buns, and a plate of pickled vegetables. Chun Lu took the first 3 steamed buns, Dinger took 2, and the rest only took 1. There was not a single steamed bun left in the basin. In the end, Yun Chujio and the other 2 were only given half a bowl of porridge. Shenwu's eyes turned even redder from anger. She wanted to say something, but although she was rash, she was not stupid. Other than the sound of eating, there was no other sound in the canteen. If she made a sudden noise, she would definitely be punished. She thought about it again. Anyway, there was still food in her storage ring. What was so good about a broken steamed bun? She was about to take something out from her storage ring to eat, when she heard a cold snort from not far away. Don't you know that you can't eat the food that comes with you in the canteen? Go out and receive your punishment. Shenwu was so frightened that she trembled. She obediently drank the half bowl of porridge that was given to her. Yun Chujio also drank the half bowl of porridge. She cursed in her heart. This ascending heaven doc was simply treating these newly ascended people as criminals. No, they were not treated as human beings at all. However, this fellow soon made a new discovery. The breakfast on each table was not exactly the same. Although most of them were the same, there were still 3 tables that were different from them. Some had more porridge, and some had more mantu. One table actually had big buns, and each person could get at least 5 of them. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this breakfast had something to do with the quality or speed of completing the mission? After a while, the door of the canteen opened. Chun Lu immediately stood up, and the others also quickly stood up and followed her out of the canteen. At this time, it was not yet midnight, and the east had just turned white. Yun Chujio followed Chun Lu to the meeting place yesterday. Soon the small square was full of people. When midnight arrived, Manager Bai walked over. He glanced at the crowd and said, Group 7 failed to complete the mission yesterday. Apart from not having breakfast, they will be punished with 5 strokes of the cane in public. Step out. Immediately, Group 7's faces turned pale as they walked to the front. These 7 groups were all women. Being publicly punished with a cane was obviously very humiliating. However, they did not dare to resist. They could only be punished with 5 strokes of the cane in front of everyone, and limped back to their original positions. Shenwu's face instantly turned pale. She had always been able to do whatever she wanted, If she was publicly punished with a cane, it would be worse than killing her. She did not know what the so-called mission was. Could it be that their ninth group would not be able to complete it? She regretted it. She really regretted it. If she had known earlier, she would not have ascended. However, it was too late to say anything. At this moment, Manager Biss' fierce voice sounded again. You must know that the most important thing in ascending Heaven Dock is the rules. The rules cannot be broken. If anyone dares to challenge the rules of ascending Heaven Dock, that would be courting death. Alright, let's go to work. I hope that there will be fewer teams punished tomorrow morning. When Yin Chujio heard Manager Biss' words, she was puzzled. What did he mean by this? What did he mean by fewer teams? She followed the team out of the square with questions. At first, the team only left quickly. After they left a city gate, they sped up even more. Shenwu glanced at Yin Chujio, who was behind him, and thought, this little scumbag will definitely not be able to keep up with the team. Who would have thought that she would quickly realize that she was wrong? Because Yin Chujio had been following behind her unhurriedly. Strange, wasn't this little scumbag at level 6 of Spirit Extinguisher? How could she be so fast? You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.